Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
I have these words of wisdom for this morning. If you can start the day without caffeine, if you can always be cheerful, ignoring aches and pains, if you can resist complaining and boring people with your troubles, if you can eat the same food every day and be grateful for it, if you can understand when your loved ones are too busy to give you any time, if you can take criticism and blame without resentment, if you can conquer tension without medical help, if you can relax without alcohol, if you can sleep without the aid of drugs, then you are probably the family dog. Good morning, here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning, good morning. I love that song. I love that lady. Good morning, Kate Smith, and God bless America, and I certainly hope he will again. Good morning, everybody. I'm Zeb Bell at Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with the very best in winter traction tires. And, of course, don't forget some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland and Burley. And, of course, Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call them at 734-6969. And without further ado, here we go over the river and through the snow or the rain. And here's Gina.
Good morning.
You scared me.
I had to slip all my buttons on if somebody had them off.
Slip all your buttons on?
Flip all my buttons on.
Oh, I see. How's the mic coming through? Sounds a little scratchy and distorted this morning.
A little bit. Could be the phone line, so I will monitor, and I will have you call back as necessary.
Okay, please do. Now, with all that being... Pardon me?
I said, will do.
Oh, you always do. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't know this, but we just got done with a pat on the back session. Gina absolutely is the world's greatest engineer. I mean, I don't have to ask for anything as far as sound effects or anything. She listens, she pays devout attention, and absolutely is the best. There. You are fantabulous.
Oh, and I give a virtual bow to that.
Well, you are the best. And now, do we have somebody to give the pledge for us?
We do. We have Miss Donna on for the pledge and Mr. Michael Rogers on for the weather.
Well, very well done. Good morning, Miss Donna. Would you do the pledge for us, please?
Well, I would be honored. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very well done, and thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day, okay?
I will. Thank you so much, Seb.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time now for the best weatherman in the universe to beam his knowledge down to us from the heavens above, MichaelRogersWeather.com. Good morning.
Morning, good morning, everybody. Now, when you watched TV last night, a guy showed you a blue line with arrows, and he told you as a cold front, you're going to get rain. Well, he's not half right. Problem is, he didn't tell you what it does. When you do the weather to the public, it is always important that you tell people what a weather system is and what a weather system does, and you can do it inside of 10 seconds. You got a blue line known as the cold front? It's a leading edge of an advancing cold air mass. It works like a shovel. It lifts all the warm moist air. You got rain, snow, and higher elevation. That's what you got for today. That cold front extends all the way down through Northern California. Bottom line with that cold front is you got rain for today, and the temperatures are going to be in the 50s for the daytime high. When it passes over you tomorrow, you're going to take a 20-degree dip in the temperatures where your daytime high for tomorrow will be right around 36 degrees, but you'll have sun and you will have clouds. And for the rest of the weekend, it will be cool and it will be sunny. See how simple that was? And I did it inside of a minute. How about that? Enjoy the weather. The only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. MichaelRogersWeather.com, the world's best weatherman. Hey, don't forget, too, our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-0459. And downstairs in the wintertime lives your very best friend. What? Yes, that's true, your furnace. And when you get out of bed in the morning and twinkle toe over to the thermostat and say, whoa, chilly, you want heat. Well, by golly, you turn up the thermostat and then you say to yourself, well, no wonder he's not working the way he should be efficiently because I forgot to get a brand new air filter for my furnace. Well, let that be a lesson to you. Buy the good quality air filters, not the cheap ones. Buy them by the box and save 10% at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Good morning, caller. Good. How are you today?
I am just wonderful, and how are you?
Well, I'll let you know. I'll call you at 5 o'clock this afternoon, and I'll let you know. What can I do for you this morning?
I knew you had the weather coming on. I just wanted to make a comment. Did you see the news on Fox this morning?
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's an all-encompassing statement. What part of the news are you referring to?
Where they said the president is now has been demanded to write a letter of apology to Afghanistan.
Let's really be careful. I know, but let's really watch the verbiage on that. And Donna, I'm very, very speculative about what's going on here. I don't know whether he's been commanded, demanded, or been asked to send a letter of apology to Hamid Karzai. Right. But I'm going to tell you this much. If he does, it's another destructive, and I'll underline that word destructive, black mark against America.
Yeah, you're right. I am totally disgusted by this president. And Congress, I don't know where it's going or where we're headed, but it's scary.
Well, and here's the thing I've been trying to do, and I'm going to lay the blame at the feet of the people that are his liaisons, their liaisons. I have called Kpo and Rish and everybody to come on this program and give us an update, and their people say, well, we'll just get you on the list. I said, I don't want to be on the list. I want them on my program. And so after this show's over today, you can darn sure bet a pair of George's holy socks that I'm going to have headway in getting them on the air.
Well, I hope so, and I hope they give the right answers. I'm not real thrilled with some of our Congress and Senate either.
Well, that goes without saying. That goes without saying across the board, though. I mean, we can't just look at our state and limit them and blame them because you've got a whole bunch sitting on both sides of the aisle.
I'm blaming the whole thing.
Yeah,
I'm blaming the whole thing. I mean, everybody is to blame, but. Democrats and Republicans, they both need to pull their heads out and start doing what we hired them to do.
Amen. And boy, nobody's going to stay on top of it like I am because I'm frustrated. I'm just mad. I'm mad about it.
Everything you do.
And you know Deanne and I probably better than most, and I'm so frustrated with the lack of caring and the lack of knowledge back there on the Potomac. It just makes me sick. I'm going to be talking about some of those stories here in just a little bit, but God bless you and your family and have a good day.
Hey, you too.
All right, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I also want to remind you about Ford, Lincoln, and Middlecoff Body Shop. Oh, my. Now, it takes a lot for me to really brag about people and give a personal testimonial. But with all of my sponsors and advertisers, it's really easy. And these are some great folks at Middlecoff Ford Lincoln Body Shop, 1243 Blue Lakes Boulevard in Twin Falls. And if you've had an accident, had a fender bender, or you need somehow to cosmetically make that truck or pickup or car or whatever look better, they can do it. I'll tell you, they strive to make your vehicle repairs undetectable. Large or small, they can do them all. So please take my word for it. They are the best. 736-2490. Middlecoff Ford Lincoln Body Shop, 1243 Blue Lakes Boulevard in Twin Falls. Really good people. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to listen very carefully and I'm being absolutely serious when I say this. I want you to listen very carefully to what I'm about ready to share with you this morning, because it could be a matter of your safety or life and death. Wherever you are going from now on, wherever you are walking from now on, maybe you're going to take a trip to Seattle. Maybe you're going to take a trip to Denver. Maybe you're going to take a little saunter up to Boise to do some shopping or whatever. Whenever you get into a crowded atmosphere now on any street in America, be very, very careful. Just walking down the street could maybe make you end up face down in the gutter or dead. Why? Why? Because there's a new game, and I underline that word, and I'm just absolutely sorrowful that I use it like that, but that's how it's being explained. There is a new game developed by black teenage punks, worthless black teenage punks, to come up from behind you and swing at you from the blind side and knock you out. It's called the knockout game, or, as the blacks are calling it against the whites, polar bear hunting. Now, it's aimed primarily at white people. Now, I'm not making this up. I saw the video yesterday, and I was just totally aghast that this is going on. And on the videos that I saw, and the videos are shot by other members, and they're being posted on YouTube. Many have died across the United States from this. A blindsided punch, and their brain and everything just shuts down, and they've been hitting the pavement face down. Many have died. Many have had severe injuries. Caller, stay on the line with me just a moment, please. Most of the perpetrators of this hideous happening are 14 to 17-year-old black youths, and they know that you can't touch them. They know that physically, if you get a hold of them, you can't touch them because they're underage. That's where I draw the line. I saw the videos of this heinous crime. It's despicable, and they're attacking both men and women of any age. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Talk to me, caller.
Sorry, Dave, I was on mute for a second.
Well, I need you to talk. Go ahead, fast.
So I didn't understand that you can't defend yourself against a minor. You can't?
What did you say?
I said I didn't understand that we couldn't defend ourselves against minors. Is that...
Well, you hit a minor and think you're going to be hauled into court. I'm not going to give you the ABC, the Bible, and chapter and verse of what happens if you hit a minor, but they know that basically they're a protected species being under 18 years of age. And they're just coming up and walloping people with a single punch and knocking them out. And I'll guarantee you, I will say this, that I don't care if they're 11 years old and doing something like this. They need to be taken out. This is ridiculous that people are losing their lives and being put in hospitals because of these 14 to 17-year-old primarily black punks that are hurting society.
I'd like to see them try it in Idaho. Several of the people that I know, if they even approached the group, somebody got struck, they'd probably be shot.
Well, I don't want to see it in Idaho. I don't want to see it again. I mean, it was one of the most it was one of the most profound and scary things that I have ever seen, and it's now a game. I mean, people have died in Minneapolis, Minnesota. People have died in New York. People have been knocked out cold, had their heads laying over the curb in various towns across this country that just floors them. This is absolutely something to watch your back for, and I'm not making it up this morning. It's a very serious problem.
Yeah, thank you for bringing it to our attention, and some of them states better get charging with murder. That's exactly what it is.
There you go. Thank you for your call. God bless you. Have a good day. Thank you. I mean, for those of you that didn't see the videos of this, I mean, I was absolutely appalled. There is a lady walking down the street, and this one black punk walks up along, crouches down behind her, and then takes his right arm and just, wow. I mean, it just absolutely put her out cold before she hit the pavement face down. For what reason? It's a game. It's a game called the knockout game, or the polar bear hunting game. have we gone this far down the toilet as a society? I'm going to stay on this subject for a while because I want to get your opinion, and I want you to be careful out there. I want you to be careful out there. Caller, I'm going to ask your indulgence. Stay with me just a minute. I got to do some commercials real quick. I'll be with you. Our dear friends at the Fairfield Inn and Suites, Burley, Idaho, you better believe it. These are really good people. 230 West 7th Street North, 677-5000. They've got a holiday special. Now listen up. If the family's coming for Thanksgiving and Christmas, hey, direct them over to the Fairfield Inn and Suites. $85 a night, including indoor pool and hot tubs, free hot breakfast. You can share the holidays without having to share your bathroom. So have them call the Fairfield Inn and Suites at 677-5000. Good morning, you're on the air.
How are you, Zeb?
I'm upset. Good morning, how are you?
Well, it's kind of like that deal I heard the other day. Now people are going around on Friday and Saturday nights with their lights off. And, you know, that happens pretty often around here. You just flash the old boy and he turns his lights on. Well, now if you flash these guys, it's a gang initiation. If you flash them, the first vehicle that flashes them, they have to chase that car down and kill everyone in the car to get into the gang.
I have heard this, and I've heard it primarily coming out of some really bad sections in Southern California and also in New York. I've heard about this, and I tell you what, I don't know what it is in general. Let's back up just for a minute and talk about this. The other night, it was, and you know it gets dark early. And it was barely light enough outside to distinguish a car coming at you without the headlights. Well, here comes two cars, and I don't know why it's so hard physically to reach over and turn your lights on, or maybe they're not smart enough to realize that when it gets that dark, you can't see them. And I flicked my lights at these two cars to turn their lights on, so they turn them on brights. Evidently, they were mutual friends or something in two different vehicles, so they turned their lights on bright and just let them that way until they passed me. And I got to thinking, you know, I would like to just go up and pop them in the nose. Wouldn't you just like, some of these drivers are so ignorant and so stupid and so void of having the common sense that God gave a billy goat, that, and now you hear stories about how people, if you flash their lights at them to turn their lights on or even dim them, they're going to chase you down and beat you up or kill you. What in the world kind of a toilet bowl society are we living in?
A sick one.
Well, you know, I had a lady criticize me the other day. She called me up after the program, and she says, well, when I turn your program on in the morning, all I hear about is death, mayhem, and all the bad things. And I said, lady, wake up. It's not being phony out there. I'm trying to alert you as to the absolute criminals that are living in our society. And beware. And that's why I'm sharing this story about the knockout game this morning. Good Lord, it can happen to anybody. You've got to be aware of your circumstances.
Oh, for sure. You've always got to stay on your toes, and you got to predict the unpredictable.
I mean, well, let me ask you a question. Here's these 14 to 17-year-old punks. Punks, that's all they are. They're worthless punks. And they're going up and knocking people out and killing some people in some instances and then laughing and running away. What would you do if you were able to sustain the punch and grab one of these punks?
Oh, he'd rue the day. That's all I can say.
If one of these
fat Oakley boy is going to hold him down and pop knots on his head so that he's going to remember, and then when the police show up, I'm going to explain to him what happened, and I'm going to sue the hell out of him.
Well, not only that,
and whoever else is involved with it, because that is wrong. There's no way that I'm just going to stand back and let that happen, you know. And then when you're looking down the barrel of a gun, you know what? It's either you kill the other guy or you stand there and die.
Well, here's the thing. Supposing that lady that's on one of these videos is your wife, and she's walking down the street Christmas shopping, and one of these worthless punks comes up and hits her and knocks her cold on the sidewalk. I'll guarantee you the temperament that I have, the personality that I have, and the absolute disdain for these total worthless punks, I don't know what I'd do. I probably would end up in jail, probably with a life sentence, because I couldn't handle myself.
Well, we'd be sitting there together at least.
God bless you for your call. Have a good day. Thank you very much. I saw this. It just is heart-rending to listen and watch what's going on these videos and the snickers from their friends. Oh, it's despicable. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Please give me a call. Want to remind you about Valley White Home and Ranch. Steve and the rest of the crew at 910 South Oneida in Rupert, they have, when you walk in the door, it's all been remodeled. And they literally have everything over there for you. Great, great clothing section. They've got all the boots, and they've got a fishing department. They've got an excellent tack department. They've got all the feed for your livestock, your horses, your dogs, and kitty cats. I mean, I'd like to know what they don't have. Really, I would like to know what they don't have. They have everything over there for you, and if they don't have what you're looking for, they will get it. Nice people. Stop in and see them today. Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Really good folks. You know, our society needs a big cleansing. Our society, with this limp-wristed wussification approach of, oh, well, little Johnny comes from a broken home. Little Johnny had trouble in school. Little Johnny didn't feel like he fit in. Oh, we've got to have sympathy for little Johnny. My foot. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Where is the news media covering that knockout game they've got going? Where is Oprah Winfrey that's whining with a big mouth about everybody being racial? Jesse Jackson, Earl Sharpton.
No.
Obama has done more to hurt the Negroes in this world than any one single person in history.
You know, now here you're bringing up an excellent point, and I'm almost out of time, and I want to hurry on this because I got a set figure I have to amount of time that I have to use at the bottom of the hour. But the minute we start talking about some racial group committing a crime, I get letters and I get all these things like, oh, you're a racist, you're a racist. Well, wait a minute, let's call it like it is. Most everyone, 99.9% of the people that are involved in this thing called the polar bear hunting or knockout game are black punks, worthless black punks that are 14 to 17 years of age. You gotta call it what it is, George.
It is, you know, and they say, well, there's no work for them. But for every job, every time I've moved and had a different job, there's always one job out there. It might not be what I want, but there's one job that you'd go to work.
I agree.
You get off their asses and do it.
Amen. Amen, amen. Close the chapter, and everybody sing a song, sing a hymn. I agree with you. I wished I had more time to talk to you, but I got to get in my bottom of the hour sponsors. Thank you so much, George. God bless you, man. Thanks. That's it. I agree with him 100%. I want to talk to you about supposedly a pastor that was on O'Reilly last night saying, oh, these black youth, oh, they're just having such a hard time. They just can't assimilate. They can't fit in. Oh, please, don't give me heartburn. Travel Lube Supply, 1050 West, 203 South of Hayburn, 438-8730, the number to call. And as I've stated all week, they're having a closeout special on Cummins engine oil filters. They are overstocked, and they need to let them go out the door with you at very low prices. They've got all the Bubba ropes. Yep, Bubba ropes. They've got the Bubba ropes, and they've got everything like the many, many, many plowshares at cost right now because they got so many in stock. All the tools, all the oil, everything at Travel Lube Supply with my buddy Jim McCall and the crew at 438-8730. It is time for the Capital Press Ag Minute. And it's brought to you every day by Pacific Steel and Recycling, 2 locations, 320 West Main in Burley and 1987 Highland Avenue East in Twin Falls. Here is the Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly.
Production of dry peas, lentils, and chickpeas in the Pacific Northwest increased significantly this year, led by green pea production, which was dramatically higher. Idaho farmers produced 106 million pounds of green peas in 2013, more than triple the 32 million pounds they produced in 2012. The Washington farmers produced 205 million pounds compared with 121 million pounds the previous year. Heading into the spring growing season, there was concern that some farmers were going to plant more grains and there would be a significant decrease in pulse acres. But but processors in the Northwest offered contracts for peas, lentils, and garbanzo beans that spurred additional acreage. With the Capital Press Ag Minute, this is Hannah Brous.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West's Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and capitalpress.com.
And don't forget our friends at Pacific Steel and Recycling, 320 West Main in Burley, and they've got a canned food drive going on right now for this full month of November right there at Pacific Steel in both locations. Bring in 2 cans of food and receive 10 cents more per pound and $20 per ton for iron and tin. And all the proceeds are going to go help the helping hands. Really nice people in our communities of Twin Falls and Burley. Pacific Steel and Recycling, 320 West Main in Burley and 1987 Highland Avenue East in Twin Falls. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. The news media in general, and this is something that I'm going to be talking to Amber Agar about with the Times News. I'm hopefully going to get her back on the air this next week. The news media in general is covering the tracks of a lot of criminals because of their race. Many, many times you've heard me say on the program why it's so ridiculous to say that they're looking for an individual, 32 years old, 5'11", and possibly 210 pounds, and they don't tell you if he's white, they don't tell you if he's black, they don't tell you if he's Hispanic, they don't tell you what he is, because they're afraid of being racist. And this is so idiotic. Well, right now, the gist of this problem with this knockout game is being caused by, and I'm going to tell it like it is. If it was white kids, I would definitely condemn white boys, 14 to 17 years of age. I'd go after them. But in this case, it's not. It's mostly 99.9% black youths, 14 to 17, that are committing this crime. There you have it, plain and simple. Not going to back off from it. You got to tell it like it is. And there's got to be some way, and don't give me, please, this morning not in the mood I'm in, don't give me this bleeding heart liberal approach of, they just don't have anything to do. They come from broken families. Well, they've had a hard time in school. Well, they couldn't make the basketball team. So they resort to knocking people out on the sidewalks of our cities across this country, killing many of them in the name of a game. And then you turn around and you look at the judicial system, and they say, well, you can't touch these kids. Boy, I tell you what, you'll go to jail for a long time if you touch those kids. Touch them. They ought to be slammed to the ground and given a what for that they will never forget the rest of their lives. Touch them. Just imagine. Just imagine for a moment that you stop at a store window and your wife walks on ahead. And you turn around and you see one of these punks go up and hit your wife. You tell me how touchy-feely you'd be, loaded with compassion, loaded with concern for that punk. Go ahead, tell me. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I just can't imagine why, as a society, we've dropped this low. Somebody hit the flusher, and down the drain we're going. Ramsey Heating and Electric, of course, offering you qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, a heat pump, or whatever you need, Ramsey Heating and Electric can save you money. Please call them at 678-0459. At Ramsey's with Lennox, they save you a lot of money and provide warm winters and cool summers. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Yesterday celebrated, and we did on this program, I read the Gettysburg Address as they celebrated 150 years after the Gettysburg Address, but our president was too busy to attend back at Gettysburg. Had much on his schedule, couldn't break away and go 63 miles to honor the Gettysburg Address. And he is the first mulatto, or if you want to call him black president ever, and the Gettysburg Address did a lot to propel him into that office today. He was too busy. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
morning. How's it going?
Great. What can I do for you?
I heard you talking about the whole youth and violence and stuff like that. I also heard you made a comment that they should be slammed to the ground and given a what for?
Those are words that came... Just a moment, sir. Those are words that came from another caller, but go ahead. Yes, you have the gist of it. Go ahead.
Okay, I didn't hear the previous caller. I was just calling to not necessarily be the bleeding heart liberal, but at least say that I don't believe that violence ever fixes violence.
Oh, okay.
And that we shouldn't always look towards, if somebody does something wrong, we should then hit them, because that teaches people that when somebody does something that they're against, then they can hit somebody else.
Oh, so then you, if it was your wife and or girlfriend, and she was knocked cold, face down, possibly dead, laying on the street for doing nothing more than Christmas shopping, and you happened to be maybe 10 or 15 feet behind her and you saw the whole thing, you would go up and say, gee, I wish you wouldn't have done that, sir. Oh, golly, I know you've come from a bad environment, and you would just stand there and let the person walk away.
No, not exactly. What I would do is I would contain the situation. Obviously, I'm not in this situation, so for you to ask a question like that or propose a hypothetical like that is a little bit of an extreme, because there's no way of telling how somebody will react in any situation.
Oh, so then you possibly would react with violence also. So you're leaving the door open that you might attack the person and literally hold them after a physical altercation. That's what you're saying, because you might act like the rest of us might act in the protection of our family member.
Yeah, but I would hope that given the situation, I can act larger than that and not just resort to the same thing that everyone else does, because that doesn't fix anything.
Oh.
That doesn't help anything. Instead of going and attacking this person, I would like to contain the person instead. And then also, and we can look at this and say, and give the hypothetical that you gave. Okay, that's fine. But I think we need to look further back, and we need to figure out ways to prevent these things from ever happening.
How would you do it? No. Wait a minute. You made a point, and I want you to elaborate on it. I'm giving you a fair shot here. How are you going to stop something like this happening? Pray tell, you have an answer.
The answer that I have is just that hopefully we can better educate these kids.
Oh, so you can start educating these kids that it's wrong to play a knockout game or a polar bear hunting game, and you can go to the black youths, the 14 to 17-year-olds that are perpetrating this crime, and you can say, oh, you can't do this. Here, I'm going to help educate you. How would you educate them?
Well, obviously it's not as simple as just going up and being like, I want to give you a better education. You have to make them want it as a small part of it too. But it needs to go further back is what I'm saying. Is we need to figure out ways that we can better, because the reality is it's the parents' fault. Okay, that's where it all comes down to. It's the parents not properly disciplining, not properly educating, and not properly allowing them to get this anger out that they have, or whatever the issue may be. I mean, if they're playing video games that are too violent at too young of an age, I do believe that has an issue. If they're watching terrible movies at too young of an age, but once again, this resolves down to the parents. And that's where we need to really figure out where we can do a better job.
But you're not talking about the now. Yeah, but wait a minute. You're not addressing the problem of the now. You're sitting there with a speculation saying in the future we can do an education program, and hopefully, there's the word that's the key of this whole situation, hopefully we can get through them and let them know that the error of their ways is hurting and harming other people. Hopefully. But we're talking about the situation right now. We're talking about gangs of kids that don't care. We're talking about gangs of kids that go in on these flash mob type things and just literally open doors of stores and jerk out rack after rack of clothing and run down the street with no retribution and no fear of any criminalization whatsoever. We're talking about kids that find it funny to go up and knock somebody out with one punch, and then they're accepted as one of the leaders of their gang. We're talking about a criminal element in our system right now that has got to be thwarted. We're talking about spare the rod, spoil the child. And right now I say lay the child down and give him the rod.
I agree. You should give him a rod, but the rod does not always revert to violence.
No.
That saying from the Bible, spare the rod, spare the child, that does not mean punishment via force. That means punishment in general.
Oh, I see.
You can't pick one verse from the Bible and say this means this, and then use a completely different one another day and say, well, I don't believe in that one.
How old are you? Let me ask you. How old are you?
Okay.
How old are you?
I'm 25 years old.
25 years old, and I'm assuming that you're married and have kids and are supporting a family.
Kids.
Pardon me?
Yes.
Okay, and
yes,
you're
two little girls.
and you've been all over the world, and you've done everything. You've been to the big cities. You've seen all the crime, and that's why you're coming out with this idea of we can settle this with love and knowledge, correct?
I was from Tennessee, actually, where I was in a bad part of town where my mother, who was a single mother, actually raised us, actually.
Okay. I'm going to arbitrate with you that this society has got so far removed from common sense that if you're going to have a video put on YouTube of these kids finding a fun thing of knocking people out on our streets across the United States, it's gone too far for an education system. It's gone too far for just sitting down and trying to work with these people's minds and change them over to be better people. It's now time to come down on them as hard as adults and treat them in an adult fashion, prosecute them, and if somebody dies, put them on death row. They've got to learn to fear that their actions are not going to be accepted.
We are nobody that decided that someone's life should be taken above somebody else's, in my opinion. And I also, once again, don't believe that violence is the answer. I completely agree that punishment is the answer, and there needs to be harsher punishments for a lot of the things that they're doing. We should never ever decide that because of the terrible things you did, you are chosen to die. We do not get to make those kinds of decisions.
You know,
in my opinion, obviously.
I am going to have to say, before I say too much, I appreciate your call, but you and I are definitely going to agree to permanently disagree. Thank you, sir. I appreciate your call. Thank you.
No problem. Bye.
Yeah, there is a problem. Yeah, there is a problem. I can't abide by that. I think retribution and fear has to be struck into the hearts of these kids today because they can't do these things. We're not being harsh enough and punish them severe enough to make them realize this is not acceptable. Caller, you're on the air. Good morning.
Yes, I would like to comment. Whatever happened to making examples out of people? Take them out back, shoot them. Take them out and back, shoot them. You know, do away with all this BS that is happening.
I agree with you, but I want to just say something. I was very much upset by the course of action of these kids and the idea, oh, well, we can sit down and we can love them. Oh, we can sit down and we can just show them that we're concerned. Listen, I'm not concerned about them whatsoever after they've hurt, injured, and killed some of these people that were doing nothing more than shopping.
Well, and that's the truth. I mean, at some point, you have to make examples out of people.
Absolutely.
You know, that's why there is a concealed weapons license. You see it happen, you pull out your gun, and you shoot them right then and there.
Well, you know, coming from
You're
a female...
protecting everybody around you so that it does not happen to you.
But what about the poor little child? Oh, he's just a minor. Oh, he's got his entire life ahead of him. Oh, we have to have so much sympathy for this baby in the woods that just absolutely doesn't know.
That is bullpucky.
I couldn't.
They know right from wrong.
Hey,
And if they're willing to take it into their own hands, then they can be tried as adults.
I agree.
I don't have any sympathy for them.
I agree with you.
I don't care if they're white, black, niggers, whatever.
I appreciate your call. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Crime in America is just running rampant. In this love fest of trying to get people to change their ways, to me it's not working. I understand that we're going to be having a call, and Gina, is that you?
Yes, this is me.
Did you hear from Mike Kpo's office?
No, I have not yet.
I think they're going to be trying to call in for a very short interview.
Actually, here we go.
All right.
He's calling in right now, and then I want to get back to this issue because I have a comment that I want to make. So
Real quick, I'm going to remind everybody about our Thanksgiving. I'm a little bit late right here, but I want to get Mike on the phone. It's very important. I want to remind everybody to send me a short paragraph of what Thanksgiving means to you. Send those to zebattheranch@hotmail.com. We're going to have our first drawing tomorrow, and our thanks go to Valley Wide Home and Ranch, Ramsey Heating and Electric, Smith's Food King, and of course Zeb at the Ranch, and we'll have those turkeys drawn for tomorrow, so get those in as soon as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very much appreciative of the fact that Senator Mike Kpo is calling into our program this morning. We've got so much to talk about in such a very little limited space of time. Good morning, Senator. How are you?
Good morning. Doing well. Sorry we're kind of cut short on time today.
Well, Mike, I am too, because you know you're always welcome here for as much time as you want. I'm going to get right to the point. This morning at 4 o'clock this morning, I was watching and catching up on all my news, talking to my people in New York City and Washington, and I learned that the Obamacare website is still 60 to 70% unfinished because they haven't even developed the site that's going to take the payments from the people. What kind of idiocy is going on back there, Mike?
You know, it's absolutely mind-blowing. It's a jaw-dropping experience to find that out. That was testimony that I think came out in a House hearing yesterday. About 60 to 70% of the website isn't even developed, and of course we know that the 30% that is supposedly developed doesn't work. And I'll tell you, it's just an example of the problems we have with this law. But I want to say one thing, Zeb. As much as we focus on this website, and that is a huge problem, I'm worried that people will think, well, just when they get the website finally fixed, if they ever do, then everything will be fine. And the fact is, it is still a fatally flawed law. People are still seeing their premiums go through the roof, and we've got to get in and repeal the law and get this fixed.
But how do we do it, Mike? I mean, there's a lot of criticism leveled at the Republicans. Well, you complain and you gripe and moan, but you don't have any alternative plan. Okay, lay it on me. You have been, and I'm going to give you a lot of credit here, from the get-go with Obamacare. You fought it. You came on this program. You told us about the negative effects. What can the Republicans do right now to try to get this mess out of deep water?
Well, first of all, the attack was started by President Obama saying the Republicans don't have an alternative, and that's just flatly false. I don't have time right now to go into all the details, but we have a very thorough and effective proposal to reduce healthcare costs and improve America's healthcare system. But what we can do right now, frankly, is start to win elections. We are starting to win over the mind of the American people. I think Obamacare is at its lowest public support that it's ever been. And hopefully that will turn the minds of some of those who are on the ballot this year. But the real problem here is, frankly, that elections have consequences. And I'm as frustrated as the folks in Idaho who write and call me every day saying, stop this law. But we've got to have some support here to get the votes in order to get it done.
Mike, I got to tell you that for the leader of the free world, President Obama, supposedly standing up at podiums and blaming the Republicans and saying that they won't work with him, they shouldn't have to over his own debacle on Obamacare, saying that he didn't know about Benghazi, saying that he didn't know about Fast and Furious, misinformed. What kind of an absolute loony bin is being run back there out of the Oval Office?
Well, I'll tell you what's happening is the president is doing, as you have said, in each of those areas. But frankly, he has learned that he can just try to cover it up or give some big spin, and that the national media will help spin that out there, and he can pull it off. For example, when he stood up and said, I take responsibility for this website, but it really is the responsibility of the government. The government's ineffective, and we'll get it fixed in a few days. It was mind-blowing, literally, to hear the president try to get away with saying that, well, I'll allow you to keep your health care now that I've admitted that I was wrong. I'll allow you to keep it, but only for 1 year, and only if you can find it, which, by the way, it doesn't exist anymore because the law forced every insurance company to stop those policies.
Shifting gears quickly, Mike, a lot of concern over what's happening in Iran. They seem to be thumbing their nose at us and the rest of the world. They're going to develop a nuclear weapon and basically hold our best ally, Israel, hostage as to what's going to happen. What are your concerns? What are your thoughts about Obama, this administration, and Iran?
I'm very concerned. I think the consequences of us getting this wrong are enormous. As you know, we and the banking committee on which I sit is the committee which developed this. We've put together a series of sanctions on Iran that are working. We are cramping them down to the point where they are feeling the pain badly enough that they are now at the table talking to us about the dismantling of their nuclear enrichment program. Now, that being said, the president has proposed that we not bring forward the next bill, which would be an increased and heightened level of sanctions on Iran,
while he negotiates. And I had a 2-hour meeting along with other senators with the president yesterday at the White House on this very issue. I'm concerned that we should not reduce our leverage until we have an agreement that's verifiable and enforceable that will dismantle the Iran effort to build nuclear weapons. And I'm going to continue pushing for that posture.
What about this story that's hit the press in the last 48 hours to the point where we're hearing that Obama wants to apologize to Hamid Karzai? What's going on over here?
Well, they're trying to negotiate an agreement by which the U.S. troops remain in Afghanistan to assist. And Karzai is saying that our U.S. troops have been abusive to their citizens, and he wants to have the president agree that if troops remain in Afghanistan, that they'll be subject to very serious restrictions with regard to what they can do in the public sector, what homes they can enter if they need to find the terrorists or the Al-Qaeda or others who are threatening them and Afghanistani citizens. And frankly, right now, I don't know whether the president's willing to make the concessions that Karzai is demanding. I personally believe that we should withdraw as much as we can from Afghanistan and ultimately entirely. And so I hope that the United States does not get into a posture of allowing Afghanistan to control our rules of engagement while we are in a foreign country in harm's way.
I want to go back quickly before I have to let you go, Mike, and I want to ask you again about Obamacare. You and I both have shared our concerns over many programs here. Do you look at this problem right now as possibly a Trojan horse of this debacle forcing a single-payer system of health care in this country?
Oh, I have said from the outset, and in fact Harry Reid has acknowledged it when he made a candid remark to or answer to a question of a reporter weeks ago. But I've said from the outset, the entire push of Obamacare is to move us toward a single-payer system. In fact, you may recall that while we were debating Obamacare, that was one of the proposed amendments that we were able to defeat, to just take the step all the way to a single-payer system right then. But I don't think there's any secret, or in fact not even any pretense by the president and his team that their ultimate objective is to move us to completely government-controlled health care. And I do believe that Obamacare was designed to be the instrument that moved us in that direction.
Last question, Mike. Have you had a chance to talk to any of the Democrats that are defecting away from Harry Reid and the president and not wanting any part of Obamacare?
Oh, yes. I talk to all of them regularly throughout the week several times. And at this point in time, they are very skittish. They are trying to tell their constituents they're very worried and that they want to fix Obamacare, but they won't take the step toward either delaying it or repealing it. So I don't think they've sufficiently felt the pressure. And that gets back to my first answer to one of your questions, where I said, elections have consequences, and if the people of this country will step up and across the country, particularly in these very tight races, let their senators and congressmen know that they expect them to repeal this law, then I think we'll get there. But right now, they're worried, they're running scared, but they are not yet willing to completely walk away and get the job done to help us fix this law.
I was reporting earlier this week about a story, Mike, and this will be the last question. Quick answer on this, about security forces that are involved in the Obamacare bill sent through and possibly put out in the country by Homeland Security. What do you know about this?
We're looking into the Homeland Security issue. I think that's being raised in the context of this electronic and internet problems that they have and others. But remember, the original Obamacare law put the enforcement of the individual mandate under the Internal Revenue Service. So we already have the Internal Revenue Service getting very beefed up to pick up all this private information and then enforce it on Americans. And I wouldn't be surprised to see other security arrangements being made as well. This is a very, very intrusive law.
I want to just extend to you so much. I appreciate your call. Mike, please, if you get any opportunity next week, please call me back. I've got a bunch of more questions I'd like to ask you, but until then, I want to extend also a very happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. You've always been very gracious to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and a happy Thanksgiving to you and all of your listeners.
God bless you. Senator Mike Kpo from Washington. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. Wow, I am late, and Gina knows it, and I've got to hurry. We're going to have the weather update real fast, brought to you by Quality's Electronics, 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. TVs. They've got a lot of them in stock. All that you're looking for with great rebates right now on Sony and Samsung. Here is Michael Rogers' weather.
Hi, everybody. Michael Rogers for MichaelRogersWeather.com. The rain that you're having now is going to continue throughout much of the day and much of this evening. 52 for the high, 25 for the overnight low. So for tomorrow, sun and clouds, 36 for the high, 21 for the overnight low. No need to thank me. That's what I'm here for. Enjoy the day. Enjoy the weather.
It's the only weather you got. Thank you, Michael. Quality's Electronics, 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. Stop in and see my friends today. Woo! I'm running. Here we go. And watching me run is a lot of fun. Here we go. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Don't forget, they've got a great big special for you on all the winter traction tires. You better be safe. You better be sane. You better drive carefully. They've got all your winter traction tires right now at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, along with all the snow wheels and the tire chains and the best in batteries and the best in brake service, too. When you say, whoa, you're going to stop. Professionally trained technicians, over 30 years experience. Shocks and struts, front end alignments, it's all there at all 7 locations. With Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Gina! Wow.
Wow. Wow, what a morning so far. What an hour.
I've got to go get some right guard.
You better.
Hey, thank you very much, and I appreciate you getting Mike on the line with us. We did not know that he was going to call in. First of all, it was kind of a hit or miss thing, and that's why I love live radio, because we can just jump in and do it. But I can't do it without the assistance of you over at the main studio. So thank you, and I think we got to a lot of the poignant questions that needed to be answered this morning. And I thank you. I
think that we did.
I appreciate your help on that. Thank you very much.
Not a problem.
We're going to take a little break. I'm going to sit back and go, whoo, and maybe have a sip of coffee or whatever. And we'll be back in about 6 minutes with more. Doug Johnson, Colorado, coming up in just a little bit. Wow. Busy morning. Whoa, pull back on the reins for a second. I'm Zeb Bell, right here at Zeb at the Ranch, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers that include Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland and Burley, and our friends with Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
I want to tell you this morning about the route service, and I absolutely mean this from the bottom of my heart, that you would be very well served and very appreciative if you get on their route service today. Absolutely get rid of your garbage. Nice, friendly truck drivers that are right there on time, getting rid of your garbage, and that's the name of the game. Always at your disposal. These people really care. Western Waste Services, call them at 734-6969. 734-6969. Western Waste Services. Also, real quick, I want to remind everybody, whoa, wait a minute, I lost my commercial here that I had to tell you about. Here we go. I want to tell you about our friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Talked to Dean yesterday. What helpful people they are. I mean, absolutely helpful people. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. They know it all. They can do it all. They can serve all of these aspects of your insurance needs. Dean, Cameron, Todd, Siemens, dedicated to helping you. Number to call, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Ladies and gentlemen, on Wednesdays, I look forward to going back into the high country of Colorado and talking to one of my dear, dear friends, Mr. Doug Johnson, the author of the Horse Sense blog and also No Tomorrow's great book. Good morning, Doug.
Good morning, Zeb. How are things in Idaho?
Well, I got to be honest with you, Doug. I'm very, very upset this morning for many, many of the news stories that have come out. And I want to start with one, but I don't want to spend a lot of time on it because we've got some things back in Washington that we've got to talk about. This story this morning that was the headline story of my program First Hour just absolutely sickens me. It makes me so frustrated. It's a story about black teenage punks now have developed a new game in major cities across the United States. They call it the knockout game or polar bear hunting, as they're going out and with one punch knocking out white men and women that are shopping and leaving them laying on the street, many of which have died. Doug, our society absolutely is going right down the toilet.
Absolutely, I agree with you. Those stories have been in the news now for about 3 years, maybe 4. And it's getting worse, and it's very scary when you think about it. You can't go anywhere and not keep an eye looking in all directions at all times.
Doug, let me ask you something real quick. Now, you have a tendency to maybe be a little bit more cautious on some of your responses than I am, and I respect that, and you're one of my dearest friends. But I said earlier this hour that if these 14 to 17-year-old punks, they know that they're underage, they know that they think you can't touch them, but if a husband and wife are shopping and somebody did that to your wife, I dare say you wouldn't just stand by and let it happen.
No, absolutely not. And I know that the fact is, in our legal system today, and I have a friend who's a very, very high-profile defense attorney who would tell you that if you responded and harmed the person, especially a juvenile, you would be the one who would go to jail, you would be the one who would suffer consequences, you would be sued, and you would lose. Even with that, it would not stop me from defending my family or a friend.
That's absolutely how I feel. And you know something, Doug? I think that's part of the mental problem and the mental approach to this problem is that these kids think they've got the older part of our society over a barrel that they can't be touched. We've got to start making examples of these kids. We have to. It's not just the poor little Johnny routine anymore. These are dangerous criminals.
Well, our entire criminal justice system, I mean, this is an example of the worst happening now. After years of being too light on crime, being too light on punishment, this is an example of the worst. You know, punishment should be there to deter future crime, not just punish the individual who did it. That's why in earlier years in our country, and in other countries there still is, there were public punishments, such as public hangings or executions, things like that. And this would deter future crime. And we don't do that anymore. Now we are all worried about rights of people and being careful. And I am absolutely a believer that we should not be cruel to people. But when it comes to things like violent crime, I have a very different opinion. I think violence begets violence. And unfortunately, while some people would not agree with me, sometimes the only response is force. Force is unfortunately sometimes necessary.
I agree. Okay, now I want to get to my second mad of this morning. I was absolutely appalled yesterday, Doug, when I was sitting watching the news and I watched this rather chubby individual that works for the Health and Human Services testify before Congress saying that the Obamacare website is at least 60 to 70% not even started. What kind of incompetency is going on back there?
Well, it is amazing, and I did see later in the discussion he said 30 to 40%, so I don't know if he got his numbers twisted or whatever, but even if it's 30 or 40%, they've had 3 years to put it together. Something is really terrible, and to me it just shows that, you know, not only do they not know what they're doing, but they don't care.
When you say they don't care, and I mentioned this to you 2 weeks ago on the program, I told you that in my opinion, you remember this, in my opinion, the slovenliness of Obamacare is absolutely almost a Trojan horse. I said that they were covering it up, hopefully to fail, so that they can enforce a single-payer system.
Well, I agree entirely. In fact, my blog post this week, I kind of went Well, I went on a rant this weekend when I wrote it on Saturday, and the thing took off, and I've now been on over 300 stations between the syndicated shows and the local and regional shows I'm on this week talking about this, because this is such a major issue. And what I likened Obamacare to was slavery. And I said it's slavery versus freedom, Zeb, because this takes away our rights. A slave does not have any rights. A slave is told what they must do, and if they do not do what they are told, they are forced into submission with harsh punishment. This is exactly what Obamacare does, and it's just the first step of the progressives in taking our society over. We also have other issues that are coming down the road between the EPA's regulations and all this climate change nonsense and Agenda 21. But Obamacare is the first step, and Americans, it's time to no longer be sitting back and say, well, I read Doug's column or Doug's books. I listen to Zeb on the radio, and I agree, and I cheer him on. We have to take a stand, and I think I'm going to go a step further here, Zeb. I think this is where you and I have an obligation, and those who have platforms like we do, to be starting to give people answers, not just say stand up. We have to tell them what they can do, and I think that's really important. So we need to start looking at how we're communicating our message and what message we're giving people now.
Doug, you're very good at what you do, or I wouldn't have you on my program. I really value your opinion, and we mesh together. The gears mesh together very well with your attitude and my attitude. But when you look at this mess with Obama, you look at this administration over the last 5 years, and you look at all the scandals. You look way back to Fast and Furious and the IRS and Benghazi and Obamacare and everything else. I have never seen America go down the tubes as fast as it has, and a president that right now he's at 39% approval rating, and quite frankly, I think that's way too high. He should be in the 20s. This is disgusting. We're going down, and nobody seems to care.
No, they sure don't, and you're right. And you and I could talk 2 hours on this one, but I think that this is part of the problem. People don't even realize how bad it is, and we are in a situation. I actually saw just before I came in the air with you another new poll out where he's down to 37%. But I agree with you, that's about 30% too high. And I allow the 7% for his friends and family. Give him that. But that's it. I mean, it is pathetic. But when that many Americans don't realize how bad things are, something's wrong. But, once again, we have to back up. This isn't just about Democrats. We've seen the Republican Party lose their mindset, too. Most Republicans, unfortunately, today are not conservative. They do not stand for a constitutional republic, which is what our government is. And so we're in real trouble, and it's really time for the American voters to stand up and say we've had enough.
Doug, another thing, too, that I'd like to talk about is an occurrence that took place yesterday, the 150-year anniversary of the Gettysburg Address with one of the greatest presidents ever in our history, Abraham Lincoln. And it was 63 miles up the road from Washington, D.C., and President Obama didn't have time on his schedule to attend and say a few words. And when you think about the Civil War, and when you think about the Gettysburg Address and who benefited in future years, it was a person like Barack Obama, now being the first black president, and he couldn't find time on his schedule to speak at Gettysburg. How low is that, Doug?
Well, it's terrible, and to me it represents what his real opinion of America is. He doesn't believe in America. He doesn't believe in what America stands for. If all somebody has to do is spend a little time studying the progressives, read Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals, things like that, and you start to understand that these people don't see America as a good place. They don't see us as having a good history. They see us as an evil nation that stole our wealth, that we're funded by evil white men who stole their wealth. This is their mindset. And so I guess in one sense, while it's sad and sick that he didn't go, in another sense, I guess part of me would have been offended if he did, because I don't think he belongs here. He doesn't represent what America is.
Okay, we have a caller with a question, Doug. Stand by. Caller, go ahead, please, with your question.
Yes, do you believe that the Republican Party is, the traditional Republican Party is lost, and like guys like Ted Cruz and Rand Paul are the only future? Or what do you make of, Chris Christie's win
New Jersey. And one of the things that he did say was that he reached out to the Black and Hispanics, and he showed great promise in the fact that they voted for him. And I'll hang up. Thanks.
Okay, thank you for your call. Doug, respond, please.
Okay, well, there's a couple of really good questions there. I do believe the future of the Republican Party must be the Ted Cruz's and Rand Paul's and Mike Lee's, the conservatives. That's the only hope we have. They represent what Ronald Reagan represented, and when the conservatives control the party, that's when the party does well. When they don't, when they lean to the left, when they look like the establishment Republicans do, the Chris Christies and such, the Mitt Romneys and people like this is when the party cannot win elections. This is when they struggle because they're too similar to what the Democrats offer. Now, in response to the Chris Christie issue, what I would say is, a condemnation or a criticism of somebody who is a moderate Republican like Chris Christie does not mean he doesn't do some things right. He certainly does, but overall, I don't think he could stand up against the Democrats, and I think the fact the media is putting such a spotlight on him right now should be warning us that this is who they'd like to see they could run against in 2016 because they know he would not be hard to beat.
Absolutely. Doug, I'm always throwing subjects at you, and now it's time to reverse the table a little bit, if you will, and I'm going to let you pick another subject that you want to talk about this morning. We've got about 8 minutes left. Go ahead.
Well, there's been so much in the news recently that it's almost hard to choose. As we look around, we see so many things happening, and what my fear is that, and we've talked about this kind of thing before, is that we see these things and there's always distraction in the mainstream media to try and keep us away from what's really going on. I believe when Obamacare's rollout started to go bad, we saw the media kind of go along with that, and the White House went along with it because it took our eyes off of things like Benghazi and the IRS scandals and the NSA scandals and Fast and Furious and on and on and on. But now that Obamacare is looking so bad, now they're looking for anything they can to focus on, and it seems like their big news story these days is this ridiculous story about the mayor up in Toronto, Canada, and I think it's just a distraction. I think we as the public need to really focus on what the other hand is doing. It's like the illusionist. He gets you watching one hand while he does something with the other hand. This is what we got to watch out for because this is what the left does, and we got to be very careful right now.
I agree with you on what you just said and how you phrased it, but I will also throw this into the fray about Obamacare. Little by little, day by day, hour by hour, we're seeing like a cheap suit. It's starting to come apart and fall apart at the seams. And now I'm wondering, Doug, how can people say, well, let's repeal the whole thing, but we have people without insurance, but we have people that have had canceled insurance, but we have people that have paid money, and where's it going to go as far as premiums are concerned? This is a health care debacle right now, and I don't think there's any concrete answers as to what to do at this juncture. Would you agree or disagree?
Well, I agree with you. This is a mess. I will be very surprised if it gets repealed because there are too many people who want it, and I don't mean citizens. The citizens clearly don't want it, but the ruling class in Washington want it. They want to control it. They want to be able to control us. This is part of their plan. And so I don't know that we're going to see the end of it. But if we did repeal it, even with the problems, even with people without insurance, I go back to what I said when they first suggested this. Actually, even before Barack Obama, when Hillary Clinton suggested it in the early 90s, I was saying that it would be far cheaper to just go out and buy insurance for the uninsured than it would be to put in a program like
Absolutely.
this.
Absolutely.
We spend millions, not billions and trillions. And nobody listens to those kind of ideas, but it really is true. And so this is the problem you have when the government gets involved in anything. There is nothing the government does better than the private sector, and I have never had somebody be able to counter me on that. The only exception they ever say is the U.S. military, and my response is that's because the private sector isn't allowed to be military. If the private sector ran the military, it would run more efficiently, and I'm not saying we don't have a great military, but they are not financially efficient, and private sector is. And so when the government gets their hands on something, we have a mess, Zeb, and I think that's what we see with Obamacare, and it's going to do nothing but get worse.
when we say it's not going to do anything but get worse, and I don't think that either you or I are just trying to say, I give up, it can't get any better, no, doom and gloom. We're just looking at the situation in an honest appraisal that if it's still, using the numbers that the gentleman gave, 60 to 70% not finished, they haven't figured out how the payers are going to pay the payee, or vice versa, I should say. They don't know how the claims are going to be dished out. They don't know about the doctors that have been canceled out of the system. They don't know who's going to be eligible to see so-and-so. This whole thing is absolutely a disaster, and I think, honestly, it needs to be appraised by a private consulting firm and try to pick up the pieces.
Well, and the sad part about what you're saying, Zeb, is that this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
We're not even talking about what's going to happen with the quality of health care, the lack of care people will get, the long waits they'll have to get an appointment, and on and on and on. And so, yeah, this is a debacle. And I guess what I would say is, even if we know we're going to lose, and I don't believe you ever give up, but you fight to the last man. If we're in a war and we're fighting and we're on the hill fighting, and it gets down and it's just you and me, Zeb, I know you well enough to know you and I are going to fight till we're dead, even though we may know we're going to lose. We're not going to give up because you fight till the end no matter what. And you never know. Every now and then, when those odds are all against you, things can still turn in your favor. So as much as we're being realistic, I think it's very appropriate to say to people, look, this is what's happening, this is what the future looks like. And hopefully that would inspire people to say, then we got to fight harder, because that's what we got to do.
Okay, one final thought here, and I've only got 3 or 4 minutes left, Doug, but in Obamacare, there are many hidden passages and tunnels, if you will, of things that were written into the bill that should scare all America. One of which is the possibility of forming security guards or details or people involved in enforcement that might come out to the hinterland and force us to do this and do that. What do you know about those hidden little tales of woe that are going to be authorized and affected by Homeland Security?
Well, there are tremendous things, I don't mean tremendous in the sense of good, but an enormous number of things hidden in Obamacare, and we're still learning what those are. But what you're talking about is interesting. Representative Louis Gohmert, who's just a great conservative, he actually was being interviewed on a nationally syndicated radio show. I don't know if you're familiar with Janet Mefford, but she is a Christian. She does a Christian talk show and looks at the news from a Christian perspective. And she had Representative Gohmert on her show recently, and he talked about this and his concern that in the bill, in the Obamacare law, there is actually wording that allows them to form this officer corps, he called it. And he also read that. He said, this is a little scary because they're supposed to be used in case of national emergency or martial law, and with no definition of what those things would be, and included the hiring of armed guards with a top-secret security clearance. And then he said, this also might explain why the Department of Homeland Security has been buying millions of rounds of hollow point bullets to stock up on for the IRS and for the different agencies within the government, and why those agencies would need weapons and training like that, I can't even imagine. But he was concerned about this, and this very well in my mind is that civilian security force Obama had talked about wanting that would be equivalent on domestic level to the military that we use outside the country. And it's a very scary thing, because this is setting up the government to allow it to turn on its own citizens, and this is something we need to be very concerned about.
Absolutely, and we're not. I want to stress, ladies and gentlemen, Doug Johnson, Zeb Bell are not making this stuff up. It's not a right-wing, off-the-wall, fell-off-the-tree type thing. It's actually happening and is written in the Obamacare bill. And I think that's the thing. A lot of people are very naive, are they not? Quick answer on this, Doug.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Bottom line is that we all want to believe the best. We all want to be, hopeful and optimistic. So we don't want to believe our own government in America would do these things, but we are seeing it.
Doug Johnson, dear friend, and I need to have you on more because you're just very, very insightful. Doug Johnson, of course, with the Horse Sense blog, and also author of No Tomorrows. My dear friend, God bless. Have a great day.
Thanks, Zeb. You too.
Thank you very much. Very, very nice man right there. Gina, are you listening right there? I need to ask you a favor. Can you turn the feed line down to me just a little bit more? For some reason, it's really distorted this morning, and I'm having a really hard time hearing everybody, so just a tad more.
I've got it down pretty much as low as I can go, so maybe turn either your mic down or your headphones.
Boy, I've got everything turned down. Might be the line this morning or something. What do you think?
Possibly so.
Okay.
Possibly so.
Yeah, I've got it turned down to where I can hardly hear. I mean, I hear, but it's distorted on here. Anyhow, thank you very much. Appreciate your help. Let's take a little break here for some commercials, and then we'll get our next guest on the phone, and that will be the Scows Answer Man, Jeff Poole, in just a moment. Don't go away. I want to talk to you a little bit about our friends at Perkins Restaurant and Bakery, 800 North Overland in Burley, 678-1304. Wow. That's a good word. Wow. Every time I go in there to eat, whether it's breakfast, whether it's lunch, whether it's dinner, I go, wow. And if I have a piece of pie, or if I have one of those muffins, I go double wow. They are delicious. Have you ever had one of those raspberry and cream mammoth muffins? Make your whole day. Make your whole week. Absolutely delicious. The new home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch, and we'll have our combination Thanksgiving and Christmas party over there on December 5th. Don't forget it. Perkins Restaurant and Bakery on North Overland in Burley. Wow. It is good. Also, I want to remind you about our friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Now, last week they had that customer appreciation sale, and they had so much fun saving you money that they've continued on with a lot of the great same items. All the sofas, they've got them. Oh, my goodness. All the recliners. Have you seen the recliners they've got in there? I mean, row after row of recliners, and you'll find one that just absolutely fits you. You got to go in there and try them on. Now, what do you mean, try them on? Yeah, you have to go in there and sit down, try them on. You know, whether you're tall, whether you're short, whether you're thin, or whether you're, Anyway, try them on and make sure they fit just you at the recliners, and they have all of them. All that you could ever look for right there at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Really, really good folks. Quick reminder, do not forget to get your Thanksgiving paragraph into me. Tomorrow we're going to have our first drawing, so hurry up and get it done today. Send me a paragraph that says what Thanksgiving means to you. All you have to do is just write a real short paragraph about the meaning of Thanksgiving to you and email it to me, Zeb at the Ranch, ZEBATTHERANCH @hotmail.com. Okay? Get those in real quick, and we want to say thank you to Valley White Home and Ranch, Ramsey Heating and Electric, Smith's Food King, and, of course, all of this through Zeb at the Ranch, helping you enjoy Thanksgiving. Okay? Free turkey drawings starting tomorrow. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for In the Driver's Seat, presented by Scows CarQuest Centers in Rupert, Burley, and Hayburn, and co-hosted by my friend, the Answer Man, Jeff Poole. Don't forget, for all your automotive needs, every detail matters, and they handle it right there at Scows in Rupert, Burley, and Hayburn. Good morning, Jeff Poole. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. How are you?
I have in my hot little hand, I feel like Karnak with Johnny Carson, but in my hot little hand, I have some more great questions about driving your vehicles up and down the highways and byways. Are you ready, sir, with your thinking cap on?
Absolutely. Let's do this.
All right. The Scows people, they know everything, and Jeff, absolutely the answer man. And this is from a gentleman that moved out here from Illinois about 2 years ago. He says, quote, "I'm from Illinois, where they really salt the roads in the wintertime. How often should I wash my car to keep it from becoming a bucket of rust?"
That's a good comment. They are starting to do more of that here as well. After a good heavy snowpack, we've all seen the front-wheel drives, the four-wheel drives, the snow packed up in the wheel wells underneath. On a good, nice day, if we get one, it's definitely a good idea to rinse them off. You see some of these vehicles come out of Utah where they heavily salt. They're 3-4-year-old vehicles with pretty heavy rust problems.
Mm-hmm. So as often as necessary when there's a buildup or a packing, if you will, of the snow up in the wheel wells, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Just try to, kick them off, like I say, when it's possible. That also drive,
causes a steering concern too, especially on front-wheel drives. They'll pack up snow in there, and your turning radius will be cut down.
Jeff, I'm from Wisconsin, the neighboring state of Illinois, and I can tell you the salt problems back there is absolutely ridiculous, and you hit it. 3- and 4-year-old vehicles look like a bucket of rust, and their fenders are all gone and everything. Isn't there a product that highways can use that's much more amenable to not tearing up vehicles?
Yeah, I really don't know that. I mean, salt per se is, it's pretty effective on ice, so I think that's why they use that. I don't know if there's an alternative for that, but just keeping it clean is the big thing. And if you do go to wash that vehicle, make sure you're getting underneath the vehicle as well. By the time you see the rust, it's way too late.
Okay, good answer.
Right under their U-joints and steering, all that stuff is affected.
Okay. Now and I saw this the other day. I don't mean to laugh at shorter people, but I saw this when I stopped in for fuel the other day, and there was a gentleman that was probably about 5'5" or 5'4", and he was trying to jump up and wash his windows. And I'll read the letter. This one is from a guy that calls himself a short cowboy. He says, "My defroster doesn't work very well, and I'm too doggone short to scrape the windows on my 4-wheel drive pickup. Is there any kind of a spray product or something that I can stand back and spray on and watch it melt? I can't reach the window."
There actually is a bunch of de-icer, windshield de-icers that are available. We do carry it here in the stores, and is a spray-on product. That is available to you. So yeah, we do have that.
Okay, well that's all it's got. Is at all 3 locations, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, here's another good question, and here's one that I've often thought about, too. A lady wrote in, and she said, are there any jacks out there that are easy enough for senior citizens to use for a flat tire? The ones that are provided by the car and the vehicle are very hard sometimes to operate.
They are a little bit cumbersome per se. There's some great jack technology that's out there. A lot of aluminum jacks have come out now, so they're real lightweight. They rise real fast, so they require a lot less, pumping, if you will. That's an alternative. And again, the biggest thing is their weight.
Okay.
Just about anybody can pick them up.
All right. And you have those available over there at Scows?
Yeah, we do.
All right, great. All right, last question, and then we'll talk a little bit about winter driving. This is from a gentleman that lives in Twin Falls, and he says, quote, darn parking lot people that slam their doors into my doors. Are there any products out there to cover some of the dings and the scratches?
Well, there's lots of products for that. We offer, like in our Burley location especially, we've got touch-up paints over there to full restoration paint jobs over there. All the stores carry different waxes and buffers and whatnot. There's a lot of products out there that are available for light scratches, heavy scratches. Again, our Burley store, they can even mix up your paint to match that you can either spray on yourself out of a can, out of a gun, brush it on. There's lots of alternatives there.
Now I want you to talk a little bit this morning. I'm going to turn the ball over to you for this. All 3 locations of Scows, you folks really have hired the best, the smartest, and the most diligent people to get the job done automotively, where your slogan is really well thought of. Every detail matters. Tell us a little bit about what's going on for this wintertime driving.
Well, with the weather changing, we definitely want people to be aware. It's good vehicle inspections are real critical. If you're not sure what to all inspect, bring it into us. We do vehicle inspections. But you want to be checking, of course, like today, your wipers. Make sure you got washer fluid in this thing. Make sure all your lights are functioning properly.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned flat tires. We all probably have a spare, but does it have air in it?
Yeah.
That's something that gets overlooked a lot. Occasionally look under the hood, see if you see anything obvious. Check belts and hoses. lots of these things. It's better to be preventive than it is to be stuck on the side of the road, especially with winter upon us.
Yeah, but you bring up a really good point. I mean, I'm not a mechanic. I mean, you have forgot more about mechanics than I'll ever know. I never did really get into mechanics and watching and learning about various things, and that's why they have people like you at Scows. They can just come in and say, hey, would you mind checking it out? And you guys can take care of it to make sure professionally they can rest assured that everything's okay.
And we do. Like I say, our basic oil services that come in here, we give that vehicle a full inspection, and basically we're just trying to make the customer aware that they potentially could have other problems. We want them to leave here with a good, sound vehicle.
Absolutely. Jeff, now I know the 3 locations of Scows CarQuest centers, Burley and Rupert, and then also the Truck Center. Does each location specialize in something a little bit different to serve the public?
They do. Over in Burley, we've got a full machine shop, driveline service, any type of PTOs, drivelines, engine machine work, basically anything that way, And then also the automotive and industrial paint over there, basically from the ability to strip off old paint to the application of new, any product you can run into that way. We've got over at our Burley location. Hayburn, they've got a swarm of things going on over there, JCB equipment. So if you got some equipment needs, Mahindra tractor, if you need any of that type of stuff, suspension, special making U-bolts, leaf springs, that kind of stuff. They specialize in that there. And over here in Rupert, we have our vehicle, repair facility here, and medium and heavy duty truck, and also radiator repair.
Absolutely.
Especially over here.
Absolutely. And always, all 3 locations with very knowledgeable, very nice people. Listen, man, I appreciate it. Now, what about transmissions? I mean, somebody hears a clunk and a thunk and a bunk, and all of a sudden they know that when they go from park into something, it ain't moving. What about
Well, transmissions are, that's a huge area for failure. We suggest, like on your automatics, to come in and have them flushed. Again, when we do a oil change, we're checking them fluids, and it's amazing how many transmissions are out there that are in need of service. I think that's a highly overlooked thing. In your manual trans, same thing. There's fluids in there that need to have regular maintenance as well. And any of them vehicles, if you're not sure, we can tell you what fluids are in there. If you're not sure how to inspect those, we can do that for you as well.
Now, Jeff, speaking of changing the fluid, is there a certain recommended mileage that you should change the transmission fluid? Like, is it at 50,000, or what number is it?
It depends on the vehicle, but there's definitely, there is some milestones, if you will, for your vehicles. I'd say, either refer to us or refer to your manual. It should tell you there, a lot of your stuff. A lot of your fluids are getting better as the cars are getting newer. Their mileages are going up. Your 50,000, say 60,000, 100,000. Some of them even advertise their lifetime fluid. It just depends on the vehicle.
Absolutely. I tell you what, folks, I just enjoy this segment because I learn a lot. I do. Jeff knows it. He is the answer man when it comes to Scows, and we certainly appreciate them in the driver's seat with the best of auto care, trucks, parts, and service, everything. Scows CarQuest in Burley and Rupert, and Scows Truck Center in Hayburn with Jeff Poole, and at Scows, every detail matters. Jeff, have a great day, and next week will be the day before Thanksgiving, so we'll get a chance to find out how much you're going to eat and what you're going to eat for Thanksgiving. God bless you, man. We'll have a good week, and we'll see you then.
All right, thanks, Ed. Have a great day.
Thank you. Really nice guy, Jeff Poole, and he is the answer man with Scows. Absolutely. Okay, we're going to take a couple of commercial breaks here, and then we're going to be going to the phone line again, and I'm going to be talking to Mr. Joel Heward over at Hanson Mortuary, so stand by for that. I want to remind everybody about Let's Ride, and the minute I say that, Let's Ride, I dropped the copy on the floor, so I'm just going to wing it here. Let's Ride Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley, and they're open Tuesdays through Saturdays, 9 to 6. Now, they've got all the brand new snow machines in there. Every one of the brand new snow machines. Oh, you can have so much fun. And they've got all the new ATV models in there. Oh, you're going to have all that fun. Just going in the showroom is quite an experience over there at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 in Rupert, between Rupert and Burley, because I don't know how they crammed all that in the showroom. You're going to wonder the same thing, along with a great big accessory department and everything else, and then they've got a super parts and service department too. All of this where the fun is sold, and that is Let's Ride, Highway 24, between Rupert and Burley. I think right now we're going to have a weather forecast update. And when I start talking about food and thinking about getting hungry, I think about Magic Valley Chalet and Upper Crust. Have you been over there? The Magic Valley Chalet with all their cheeses. And they've got, on Fridays, they do beef jerky curds and jalapeno curds and all the cheese along with all the delicious ice cream. And then upstairs at the Upper Crust, all the delicious meals. The menu is fantabulous. Oh! You're going to love it. Magic Valley Chalet and Upper Crust, 1367th Street in Hayburn. And don't forget, all Gosner cheese platters, cheese balls, gift baskets are 20% off through Thanksgiving. Check it out today. Here's Michael with the weather.
Hi, everybody. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. The rain that you're having now is going to continue throughout much of the day and much of this evening. 52 for the high, 25 for the overnight low. So for tomorrow, sun and clouds, 36 for the high, 21 for the overnight low. No need to thank me. That's what I'm here for. Enjoy the day. Enjoy the weather.
It's the only weather you have. Gina, what happened to him? Magic Valley Chalet and Upper Crust, 1367th Street in Hayburn, our weather sponsor for this hour. Speaking of Gina, I did not mean to be rude to you before. You said at the end of the first hour you had a comment to make, and I have not had one spare minute, and so I apologize for that.
You know what? We can talk about it at another time.
Well, you know, anytime you want to just come on the program and share your wealth of information, you're always welcome.
Well, it just had to do with the topic about the games that those kids were playing.
Yeah.
And so we'll touch on that, but we do have Joel Stewart on the phone.
Let's make it a point to remind me in the morning, because as a mother, a single parent, and a mother of a small boy, just in, kindergarten, first grade? First grade. I'm very concerned about what's happening out here in this world, and I think your opinions would be very, very appreciated. So we'll talk about that tomorrow morning.
You got it.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, right now we're going to go to the phone lines, and we're going to be visiting with Joel Heward with Hanson Mortuary, the owner-manager. Good morning, Joel. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you this morning?
Not too bad. You know, I got to ask you this question. Every year around the holiday time of Thanksgiving and Christmas, a lot of people, me included, and I'll share this with you, I'm going to kind of bare my chest a little bit, I get a little bit melancholy thinking about, my folks that are passed away and other of my relatives that are passed away, and it's just kind of a sad, kind of a blue moon kind of an occasion time, isn't it?
It is. It's a tough time of the year when you've had a loss, and because the time of the year is filled with so many memories, that kind of build their whole life, into growing up, and those memories as a child with Christmas. I've got a 3-year-old right now that's just really excited already and really seeing what the fun Christmas brings. So those memories stay with you, and memories are connected almost always directly with friends and family. So,
well, Joel, you take like someone that you have just worked with the family, and there's been a passing of loved one, maybe a spouse, and the remaining spouse, especially this time, what do you do to console these people? I mean, what do you do to create the aura of, yes, there will be a better day and there will be sunshine somewhere in the near future? This got to be a tough time for those people.
It is, and we deal with a wide variety of people, and just several people, many people, I guess, and most people they gain that strength and that comfort, I think, from their churches and their families. What we do, or I try to do on a personal level, is I try to stay and remember as many of those people that I serve and take care of as I can, and I try and ask them how they're doing, and some you see on regular occasions, and others you just see once in a while, and some I don't know if I've seen them again, and I want them to know that we do take care of them. We do have a job to do, but it's more than just a job. We truly serve these people. We get connected sometimes to them, and you think about them also.
You know, the thing about your profession, and it's got to be rough. You are in a profession that is hard to talk about sometimes. Let's be very honest about that. It's hard for me sometimes to talk about it, losing many of my family members. But, it's a point and a fact of life. So when you get somebody that really doesn't want to talk about it and they kind of clam up, how do you break the ice?
Well, you're always looking for, some common ground to stand on with them, and just let them, especially here, I feel like we're easy to talk to that way, because we're just normal people here. I wasn't always born in this business. I grew up in southern Idaho here on the farm, so, I relate to this lifestyle pretty well, and, often those are my memories, wishing that I could do what I grew up doing, but, that's not what I'm supposed to do, and this is what I do now, and, we're going to be the best at it that we can be, and, and those that ask us to take care of them, we're going to take care of them the best that we know how and that we can. So
I don't think that there's a better way you could have said that. I mean, you're absolutely putting your personality out there. You're putting and hoping and praying that they put the trust in you, and you do, and you prove to them. But, still, when there's the passing of a loved one, I've said this many, many times on your commercials, that there's such a limited time for the family to dot all the I's and cross all the T's, and that's really where they put their faith in a person like you.
Yes. Yeah, they do. They place a lot of trust in us, and, my family, we pray all the time that when somebody, just like the old joke, I guess, everybody's asking us how's business, and, I just tell people, we pray that when people meet someone like us, they think of us. So.
Absolutely. One thing we've never done, I like to talk a little bit sometimes lighthearted things, and I mentioned this to you one other time, but, your office, your business, and the way you conduct your business daily, it's not all doom and gloom and all strung out organ music, but, I mean, you smile, and you got to have a great personality for what you do, because people need to know that you're in control, you know what you're doing, but also you're their friend.
Yeah. No, and that's, that was the number one thing that blindsided me when I got into this line of work, not knowing anybody personally in the line of work, was how much of a social job it is, because you just meet so many people, and, you become friends with people, you go through these darkest moments of their lives, you're there with them. Whether you've gotten real close to them or just acquainted with them, you get to be a part of those neat experiences, and you can't just walk away from them and not say hi.
What would you tell people today that have, maybe people my age, as a matter of fact, or even younger? What would you tell people about those that are just too afraid or too timid to sit down and talk about pre-arranging funerals? What do you tell people?
It's an invaluable tool. I mean, it's just something people have to have. I mean, for themselves, to bring them peace of mind, but to their extended family, those that are going to be left to make those few final decisions, to give them some direction. I mean, anything is better than nothing. If they've at least expressed their wishes, people know which direction to head to the best of their abilities. But if nothing's ever been spoken of, boy, it's really tough, because they just don't know what they're supposed to do for that person. And, from the minimal of coming in and letting us know what your wishes are and jotting that down on paper, getting a free planning guide from us that puts their information down and gives a directive as to what should be done, to pre-funding and pre-planning, you can do to your level of comfort, but something is better than nothing. So
absolutely. Now, one final thought here. We're just days away from my favorite beginning of the holiday season of Thanksgiving, and I've got an awful lot to be thankful for, and then leading into Christmas. And is there like little pamphlets of information or something that you provide to people who might be a little bit down in the dumps, a little bit blue, that maybe you can talk over and they can stop by and pick up and read some of this, and maybe it'll help lift their spirits a little bit?
We sure do. We have lots of those resources available. You know, there's groups in the community, you know, that are operating at different times, and different groups that, you know, and honestly, I'm not aware of all of them because, you know, they're offered through so many different groups and organizations, but they are out there. And if someone's really in need of something, we'll help them find what they need. And, you know, we do have a variety of pamphlets that just help them to realize that, you know, sometimes what we are feeling is normal, but it's nice to know that we are normal and we are struggling like other people. And if you need that little extra help, it's nice to go with people that are struggling with the same thing so that you can support each other.
Absolutely. Okay, now, completely off the subject. Thanksgiving's coming up real fast. What's your favorite part of Thanksgiving dinner? I'm going to put you on the spot here, man. What is it?
Well, about the time I sit down with that full plate, that's the favorite time.
You know what? That's a good answer. Some people will always say the turkey, the dressing, or maybe the potatoes or whatever, and you said the whole plate. Man, you're a man that encompasses everything. I respect that.
Well, my grandpa used to always say, we'd ask him, my mother used to make a lot of pies, and that was the family tradition, and we'd ask him, always growing up, what was his favorite pie, and he always said a round one. Yeah,
there you go. Joel, I tell you what, I always look forward to having you on the air. Thank you very much on behalf of Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert, 436-5636. Joel Heward, God bless, and don't forget, Lunch Bunch is going to be on December 5th. We'd love to have you there.
Well, I sure like coming when I can make it, and we'll be there.
All right. God bless you, man. Thanks so much.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank you. Very, very nice man right there. Joel Heward of Hanson Mortuary. Really appreciate him. Gee willikers. Gina, I'm caught up for the first time all morning long.
And actually, it's the first time you've been caught up all week long. We've been kind of running behind.
Well, yeah, but now we do have a couple of minutes here, and I just want to remind everybody that get those paragraphs in on Thanksgiving, what it means to you. We still have time before tomorrow morning's drawing for our first couple of turkeys.
Gobble, gobble.
Gobble, gobble. I'm going to ask you, what are you going to do for Thanksgiving?
Plans are still up in the air, but the plans is to go to Mesquite or St. George for Thanksgiving.
So you're going to be down there where it's about 80 degrees.
Yes.
And cooking probably for how many?
I'm not cooking this time around.
You're not cooking, huh?
I'll help if they want me to help, but I'm not. I'm not cooking. Yay!
Hey, Gina, I just had something happen here in the studio. We have not one but two Goliaths that just walked in and tore the top of my door frame off. Each one of these guys is he's bigger than you are, Hatch.
I'm better looking, though.
Not really. Kelton Hatch is here, and I forgot this gentleman's name. I think it's Doug Meyer. And
Doug Meyer from Kelton Hatch.
Yeah, and Doug Meyer and Kelton Hatch are here. I'm going to turn their microphones up. Each of you grab a microphone real quick before we start the next segment. How tall are you anyway, Myers? For Pete's sake, you took the paint off the top of my door.
I am 6'5".
6'5", and Kelton, how big are you?
Oh, 6'4".
6'4". It looks like I got the starting offensive line for the Rams here, for Pete's sake.
He looks more like a wide receiver. He's a little thinner.
Yeah, let me just correct you on your statement. He is a lot thinner than you are.
Thanks, Zeb.
I mean, when you walked in, I saw on your forehead what it said, dirigible.
That's a $10 word.
Yeah, well, I wanted to say it for you. How you been?
Can't complain.
It wouldn't do any good.
You know, I'm loving the rain. It's nice to see the rain.
Yeah.
Hopefully we get a little snow.
Yeah.
Stick in the hills, and we got lots of fun subjects. Now, I thought we'd bring Doug along today just because we're winding down on hunting season, and we've had some interesting cases that he's been working on, and so I figured we'd bring him over. And if you got out of line, he's got a club and some OC.
Well, Doug, the silver. I'll tell you what. I'll correct everything you got in your hand so it's easier for you in just a minute. The silver radio with the gold headsets would work better if you want to turn that on. And so we're going to have some interesting case histories next hour.
We are. are.
Okay.
We're going to talk about a bunch of things. So if you're out there listening and you got some questions, give us a holler.
Real quick question before we go to the news from ABC. I'm certain that you know this is Thanksgiving and Christmas time.
Oh, you betcha.
And I'm sure that Jerome Hansen and the rest of the Fishing Game, due to the fact that for the last 5 years have not even sent me a Christmas card, that you are going to possibly develop a bigger surprise gift for me during Christmas time.
They sent you that Hanukkah card, I thought.
No, I didn't receive it.
I thought, but no, yeah, I don't. Maybe.
I mean, even an old fruitcake that you've had laying in your closet for 4 years would be appreciated.
I'll make sure I bring something next time.
I can imagine what it's going to be.
I'll bring you some deer jerky. I'm putting together some deer jerky, some salami this week. So.
I'm telling you what, I'm just wild with anticipation.
You bet.
Next hour, we've got the Fishing Game. Not one, but two are going to be here talking to us for the full hour, and your questions will be appreciated. So we're going to send, look at this. I've got a type up list, and it's double spaced. Miracles will never cease.
Should have got a bigger print so you could read it, though.
That would have been appreciated. Anyway, we're going to go to the news from ABC and be back with both these gentlemen in just a few minutes. Fishing Game Report's coming up next. Don't go away.
Yeah, just if we get a question, just ask. I just wear them because I look cool.
You're probably wondering where I am. I'm here, but I thought I'd let the music play for a minute because we had a major obstacle hit our office this morning in our studio because Kelton Hatch's headset does not work, and he has been complaining and generally causing all kinds of discomfort for those of us here in the studios.
Well, usually Gina gives me the answer through the headset so that I can answer them correctly.
I see. Do you have something to play with over there?
I do.
And what are those?
I've got a horse.
That's not the answer I thought you were going to give. Anyway, we have with us, in just a moment, I've got to give a lead into this because we have to do things in the proper vein. This is Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland and Burley. And, of course, our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call, get on the route service, 734-6969. Now, that being said, we can just go right to our two gentlemen that are here in the office, and I know one of these gentlemen is a gentleman. The other one, it's kind of an iffy situation. But good morning, Kelton Hatch.
You should talk about Doug that
No,
way.
I'm not, as a matter of fact. Good morning, Kelton Hatch.
Morning.
And Doug Myers. Good morning. Now, is it Myers with an S or Meyer?
No S, just Meyer.
Now, hold that real close, Doug. Doug has been on the program before. Very nice individual. And if I remember correctly, help me on this, Doug, you are originally from my home state of Wisconsin. Isn't that right?
That is correct.
Okay. What part?
Medford.
Medford, Wisconsin. I'm trying to remember. Isn't that over to the west and north of where my home is, Fort Atkinson?
Yeah, Medford is about a half hour northwest of Wausau.
There you go. Okay. And he saw the light, like a lot of us have, that lived back there, and left. In your case, you left willingly, I assume, and weren't asked to leave. Is that correct?
Yeah, as far as I know.
Okay, good. Now, in Kelton's case, he was born and raised over in eastern Idaho, and you were asked to leave, weren't you?
Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. Played for Utah State football team and had a chance to go pro and play with the Buffalo Bills, but
yeah,
right. Okay. How you doing this morning?
You know, I can't complain at all. Things are great. I love this time of year. Everything we got lots of hunting going on still. It's finally cooled off, so when I go out hiking, I don't sweat like an old fat guy.
Well,
even though I am.
I thank you for the honesty.
I have to jump on those before you whack me with it.
Well, let me ask you right off the top, was the hunting season what you expected it to be?
It was fantastic this year.
It was.
The big game seasons have been just grand.
All over the state or primarily right here?
You know, everything I've heard from, we just had a commission meeting. We got to talk to a lot of the other biologists and folks from around the state, and it looks to have been a really good season across the state.
And would you attribute that to what, better habitat or what?
You've had some really mild winters.
Yeah.
We've had some good habitat, so that we've got higher deer numbers across the state. Elk numbers are on the increase outside of the wilderness and some of those backcountry areas. We're getting a lot more elk down here on the Front Ranges and stuff like that.
Now, when you say Front Range, I don't mean to interrupt you, but what do you term the Front Range?
Anything out of the wilderness or out of the heavy timbered.
So basically coming down into the foothill area here, the South Hills?
Yeah, the foothill, that Front Range just around, the Haley, Sun Valley area, anything that's got people living near it.
Yeah.
I classify even the Front Range up through Salmon and Chalice, anything that's above the towns and towns up in there, because those are places where we, everybody knows it's not a secret. I mean, we got wolves in the backcountry, and as long as we got wolves in the backcountry, we're going to have, at the populations we do now, we're going to have depressed elk numbers to a point, because we don't get back in there and we don't harvest as many. I mean, this year I think we're sitting on about 130 wolves that have been harvested. Still got several months of hunting left. Last year we went about 230, but we've killed another 230 with control actions that we've had on depredations. But because of those in the backcountry, and we've got habitat issues. I mean, all through the Clearwater and places like that, we've got a lot of heavy overgrown forests. We're not getting good calf survival through that or through depredations. But these Front Ranges, these big fires, make great elk habitat. I mean, it birds up all the brush and creates a monoculture of grass in a lot of areas.
And I have seen some pictures of some big elk coming out of the Malta and over in that area. Boy, there's been some big dudes harvested over there.
There's been some big wappities popped this year. You bet.
Kidding.
I mean, down south here, just below in 54 and 47, we've had, I've got photos of over 5 bulls that went really, really close to 400 inches.
Holy cow. Now, on the other side of the Kelton Hatch is another gentleman, very nice. Do you get paid hazardous duty pay for traveling with this man?
No, I don't. I should.
Apply for it. Please, apply for it. Doug Myers is here with us also. And, boy, I've been hearing when you walked into the studio this morning saying that there's been a whole bunch of poaching problems and everything going on this year. Tell us a little bit about that.
We have. We've had a lot. I don't know if it's any more or less than other years, but this is the time of year for it. And we were just talking to you about a buck that was shot pretty close to the studios here, just within Unit 54 down towards the foothills. And that was a large buck. We've also had a couple antelope this year.
Now, on these poaching problems, Doug, are they just shooting the animals and letting them lay? Are they taking the animals? Are they taking the meat? What's going on? Are they just shooting them, letting them be, or what's going on here?
Well, I think every situation is unique, depending on, maybe somebody comes up upon them, scares them off, they may leave it.
Yeah.
I think in most occasions people take it, but there are a few deer and antelope this year that I investigated personally where they did leave them.
So, like the one over here just not too far from my place that was poached, right within an area of civilization. I mean, people living close by, and they just shot it basically from the road and just left it lay.
Yeah, in that location, the deer are very visible. People know it's there. It's a big buck. And I guess for some, the temptation is just too great. But, yeah, it's right down amongst houses and farms and everything.
The thing that I was going to mention something on this, that we've had this issue, and for the last, since I started here, we've been talking about the deer that we find up Dry Creek or Cherry Springs and stuff that have their heads removed. And I mean, over the past 3 years, I think Jim Sterling, the officer that actually, Doug patrols the Burley Rupert and all that country over there, and Jim Sterling has this area down here, and he figures there's been 15, 16 deer that they found without heads.
Oh, my gosh.
And so it's bucks that have been shot and their heads have been taken. I was talking to him the other day, and he thinks their MO has changed a little bit. People are shooting these bigger bucks, leaving them lay, and then because we've increased patrols and people watching out for stuff like that, we've been getting a lot more cap calls on it also. Doug will have to talk about cap because he's been spearheading that also, but he kind of thinks people are starting to shoot these and then coming back later on and recovering them as winter kill or wounding lost animals instead of the possibility of getting caught with a head in the back of the truck.
Is the fine tough enough for these people if they're caught?
Well, the fines, I think, are based kind of per county. It's up to the judge. There are maximums and minimums for each offense, and There's a civil penalty owed to the state, fixed for whatever animal you harvest illegally. In some cases, there's a processing fee for the meat, but it does kind of vary. It's up to the judge and a few other factors.
What about this issue? And I want to get into this. We were talking about it briefly during the break, during the news, about a vehicle was shot. What are you talking about here?
Well, we had some hunters that were down here going up down by by the Cottonwood WMA, and they're driving down the road, and all of a sudden the side panel of their car blew off.
The side panel of their car?
Inside.
I see.
And it hit the one guy in the leg. He thought he had been shot. Well, he had. There were some folks that were down not really paying attention where they were shooting from, and they were shooting across a county road, target shooting.
Oh, my God.
And shot through the side of the car. And I guess the reason I bring that up is I just want people to be really cautious and think. Doug's got this other case that I think really ties in closely with this, is sometimes we don't respect firearms enough.
Amen.
And as Idaho grows, I mean, when I was a kid, there was only 700,000 people in the state of Idaho.
Yeah.
Now we got 1.7 million people in the state of Idaho. So, and I'm not that old, really. I look it, but I'm not that old.
I'm not entering into anything in this conversation.
So, I mean, we've got a lot of people moving in, and the more and more people we have coming in this country, the more cautious we have to be with our firearms. So, I mean, it's just a good reminder, is know what's downrange, know where you're shooting, and know what's going on. But
I want you to elaborate on this a little bit. So the way I'm interpreting what you're saying is this automobile with these hunters was over by Cottonwood. Is that correct?
Driving right down in front of the Cottonwood house.
Down in front of the Cottonwood house, and all of a sudden the door blows off?
Well, the inside panel, they shot, when the rifle, they were shooting at a target across the road.
They were shooting at a target?
Across the road. And they didn't see the car coming, evidently, and they shot, and when it went through the door, you know, those inside plastic moldings, that's what came off. It hit the guy in the leg. He was actually a guy that had just moved here from France. He's only been here for about a year. Decided to take up the sport of hunting. And
this was a deterrent.
Yeah, it kind of scared the crap out of him.
That's one way to put it on the radio. Thank you very much.
And but the door panel is what hit him in the leg.
Oh. Wow.
And so it's just one of those things that,
if that would have been any higher, it would have killed him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it could have hit him in the leg.
What is the matter with these guys shooting across the road?
You know, Zeb, well, let's have Doug jump into his.
Doug, jump in and tell me a little bit more
about this ASA. We had
unbelievable.
A simulated. It's a decoy animal.
It is. It's a simulated deer, and it gives us the flexibility. I mean, of course, it moves and the tail will wag. And
so they saw this.
No, this is a different story.
This is a different story.
This is just talking about how people don't really take into account what they're shooting at, where they're shooting from, because he'll explain it a little bit more as it goes on.
So this deer is a great tool for enforcement officers. It allows us to set up in a problem area or where we've gotten complaints in the past, and you know, it filters and brings hunters to us instead of us having to find them. But that being said, what we do...
Let me do one thing, Doug. I'm going to fill in just a little bit because we jumped out kind of in the middle of this. What this is it's basically a decoy deer that Doug and the officers use. They set it up out in the field where we have people shooting either onto private property where there's a no trespassing sign. If we've got people we get calls that people are driving down the road and shooting from the road at animals. The officers get all these reports, and then Doug takes this decoy animal and sets it up. And
okay, go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, so that's one thing I'll touch on a little bit later also, is we don't just put these things up arbitrarily wherever. There does need to be an underlying law being broken. So like Kelton mentioned, either trespassing or shoot from the road or something like that. So we put in problem areas in response to calls. And this particular one was put in Unit 56, which is the sublet area over east of Malta. And what happened basically is we had a bunch of reports of folks not only shooting from the road, but shooting deer for their children in that general hunt.
Adult shooting deer.
Yeah, and you know, the rules for that hunt basically are it's any buck for an adult, and anyone 17 or under can shoot either sex.
Right.
So basically what we've noticed in the past and documented is that, especially the last weekend, folks are trying to fill those tags, kind of, I wouldn't say at all costs, but they're a little more apt to stretch the rules and do whatever. So what we decided to do is put this deer up, and it was kind of disheartening to see what happened. I mean, it was on a busy road. It was during the daytime, but it was a doe. There was no antlers on it, and it was far enough off the road that it wasn't easily noticeable just to the passing motorist. You would have to be looking for it. So what you get is people driving very slowly. One group of hunters had someone riding on an ATV in the box of the truck. It was actually sitting on the ATV. So what I want to get to in a little bit here also is that kind of shows that they're a willing participant. It's not like the word is entrapment. We always get, oh, this is entrapment. Well, there's two things that go into entrapment. One is whether the person has a predisposition to commit a crime or not. And then the second way would be would a normal citizen that doesn't mean to break the law do this?
Yeah, but let me jump in here. This is not a novel idea or circumstance. I know this has been employed by many, many fish and game departments all across the United States and in Canada. Mm-hmm. And it's not a new idea. And unfortunately, it's very good at catching some bad guys.
Yeah, and I just wanted to make sure we got that point across. But yeah, on this particular occasion, we did it 2 separate days in the exact same spot, exact same setup. We were there probably a total of 6 hours.
A total of 6 hours?
Yeah.
How bad a shape is this fake deer, by the way?
It actually is destroyed. There was so many rounds. We had 40-plus rounds fired from...
Wait a minute. 40-plus rounds were shot at this decoy deer?
Yeah.
From the road.
From the road. All of which were from the road.
But that's not really the point, and I think you both of you are going to agree with me. The point is that they were shooting at a mock deer, but from the road in, quite frankly, a civilized area to where other people were living, farming, etc. This could have been a devastating deal, couldn't it?
Well, from a safety standpoint, it's not the worst place in the world. It is a county road, but it's kind of up in the hills.
Yeah.
It's more so we put it there because it's a high traffic area for hunters that time of year. There's no houses or anything.
Did you catch any of these guys?
We did. We caught them all. What we do is we're sitting right there on the hill with a video camera, and you have a remote control to move it. So what we do is
So this thing was moving in a quasi-realistic manner.
The head twists or the tail flicks.
Head twists and the tail flicks, and these guys are out going bam, 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 and then all of a sudden a uniformed officer shows up, right?
Yeah, that's true. We usually have a truck somewhere remotely close.
Tell me, this is interesting, because tell me what happens. What's their first response when they see you coming?
Well, that's a good question. Everybody's a little bit different. Obviously, people kind of get tunnel vision, and a lot of times they don't even notice we're coming. One of these folks, the siren from the patrol truck went off 2 different times, and he was still shooting.
This guy was committed.
Yeah, so that just shows you that you're not hearing other things, you're not seeing other things, and that can present safety issues in itself.
Okay, so you walk up to the guy and you're addressing him. What is the verbiage that you use? Sir, you are really dumb. That's a dumb decoy out there in the field. What do you tell these guys?
Well, the first thing, just like any other police officer would, is we ask him to, put the gun down. Obviously, they have a gun there.
That would be my first. Yeah, I'd say that first, too.
So the first thing kind of is officer safety. We try to get them stopped, get all the guns down. And then we try to, pull them back to our truck and explain to them that it's a fake deer, and explain to them, what's kind of going to happen. And then it's basically the same as any other field contact at that point. But
and they're all going, oops.
Yeah, but the thing is that on these, is the people that were shooting were doing 2 things. We had adults shooting at a doe in a buck-only area.
Ooh.
And then we had people shooting from the road. And so this wasn't like, it's not like the officers had used a 4-point buck or a legal deer. If this had actually been a live deer, it would have been an illegal harvest. This would have been a poach.
It's a poach, yeah.
And if you had youth that pulled up, because youth were allowed to shoot at it, what did you do with the youth?
Well, that's one of the reasons why I was really close to this particular setup, just for that reason. So we don't want youth hunters to shoot our deer.
Absolutely.
So what we were doing is if people did stop and a child got out, or a teenager even, I would jump out of the weeds and yell and holler and, no, don't shoot, so we would stop those folks. So we don't want any youth hunter that could legally take the deer to shoot it. But
even
if Grandpa got out,
if they were shooting from the road, which is against the law. But I just want you to know they're not trying to get the youth on this.
Yeah.
They're trying to get the adults.
Absolutely. Did you say that they had a pickup truck, and in the back of the pickup truck was an ATV, and someone was sitting on the ATV with a gun going down the road?
That's true.
Holy buckets.
So there's only one reason you would do that. I mean, there were seats available in the truck.
Yeah, I would say.
I think everyone can use their imagination there. But
now, what is the fine and the penalty for what they did?
Well, there again, it kind of varies. This group of folks, what the prosecuting attorney in Cadgett County decided to do.
Well, how many were the most people that shot at one time?
I believe one group had 4 individuals at one time.
4 people were gullible enough to start shooting at this fake deer?
Well, and how many adults? I mean, there's 2 adults in the group.
Wow.
Yeah.
2 adults.
I guess an obvious question is, how much did that deer cost the Fish and Game that's blown to smithereens?
Well, that's one thing we actually addressed. The prosecutor agreed, and the judge went along with it. Is, this was a crazy situation, a lot of shots fired, and they gave us additional restitution for a new decoy.
Why, absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
So actually, the minimum fine for shooting a deer illegally is $200, so that's the minimum fine.
Okay.
And then the civil penalty for a real deer to the state of Idaho would be $400 normally.
Yeah.
Now, in this case, it's not a real deer, so they don't get charged with that. However, this particular case, all 5 adults that were charged, they agreed to each pay $640 total in fines and restitution.
Now, will they, as adults, ever be able to obtain a hunting license again?
They will. In fact,
they'll be able to hunt next year, won't they?
They will
be able to hunt next year.
Now, that brings up, is a fine and the penalty harsh enough? I mean, if these people get caught doing this kind of thing, shouldn't there be a lifetime ban or at least a 5-year ban?
I think that's something you'll have to talk to your local prosecutor attorney again.
Does it make sense to you as a Fish and Game member?
I'm not even going to comment on that because I think that's above our pay grade. That is for the attorneys and the lawyers and the judges and the public to decide. Yeah, I mean, you would like to see something, but I guess the thing, I wanted to jump back to this case. Doug had this animal up for, basically, they were out there working it for 6 hours. They had 9 vehicles pass.
Oh, my gosh.
3 of the 9 stopped and shot at it.
Holy cow.
And out of that, how many adults did you have?
There was 5 adults.
5 adults willingly shot at a doe in a buck-only unit. This is the part that's really disheartening. It really hurts. We've got this great hunt in Cadgett County. People are complaining to me every time I go to a meeting. Oh, there's no deer down there. People are just shooting everything. The youth are killing all the does. You shouldn't have it. We had 5 adults shooting illegal deer from a county road in the middle of the day.
Mm-mm.
And they're teaching their children
to do
and their grandchildren to do the same thing. Guys, I grew up on a ranch. I understand living out in the country, having wildlife near to you in your backyard. You almost get an ownership. We're beyond that nowadays. Yeah. Guys, this is stealing from our community.
You're really passionate about this.
It broke my heart. It's not that it broke my heart when Doug told me this, because I couldn't believe that we'd have 9 vehicles and 3 of them stop and shoot at an illegal situation. And then we have a kid shooting across the road that shoots a vehicle. All basically in the same weekend. I mean, what is going on? Where are our ethics? Where are our sense of right and wrong?
Yeah, I agree with that. I totally agree with that.
Well, and one thing I would like to add, I hear it a lot of times. I just want to make sure everyone knows, it's those Utah hunters. Well, in this particular occasion, it was all local folks that were charged. So
really?
It's not necessarily the case. Sometimes it is, but not always.
Man, I tell you, we got so much more on our list to go through, but very interesting on behalf of Kelton and Doug.
That's why I thought Doug would be a good...
No, I appreciate that. But I want to go back real quick. Give me a short answer on this. The gentleman from France that came over here, basically his first hunting trip, is he all right?
He is. He's got a really bruised leg, and he's really wondering about hunting again in Idaho. I guess he ended up finishing the hunt. He had a pretty good friend that was with him, and they went out. But it really freaked him out.
Well, it would anybody. Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Don't forget the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. Always great meals, always great specials. There are luncheon specials Monday through Friday for $5.95, and the Senior Citizen Dinner Special Monday through Thursday from 4 to 6 p.m. Again, only $5.95. Today, Wednesday, a delicious chicken lettuce wrap with choice of potato and super salad. Always good food, always nice people. Right there at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. Hey, we're going to take a little break, send it back over to Gina. We'll be back in 3 minutes.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much. Welcome back. Don't forget the Rupert Bookstore and Office Supply at 515 5th Street in Rupert, right on the south side of the square. Holy smokes, have they got some outstanding pre-Christmas open house coming up on this Friday, November 22nd. All kinds of great specials for you. And don't forget, on the 29th, the Christmas lighting on the square in Rupert, and the bookstore will be open at 6 to 9 p.m. that night. Wow, they're going to have all kinds of store-wide sales. Don't miss a minute of it at the Rupert Bookstore and Office Supply, 515 5th Street in Rupert, right on the south side of the square. Really, really nice people. Real quick, I want to say thank you to Roberta Christensen sending us the information on the Thanksgiving festivities in Rupert, and also on Friday, November 29th, don't forget, 5 p.m. they're going to have a chili feed and cinnamon rolls and all kinds of coffee and hot chocolate, and at 7 p.m. right there on the square, Santa's going to turn the lights on. In Christmas City, it's going to be great, along with the fireworks show, and we're going to be telling you more about that tomorrow right here on Zeb at the Ranch. We have the Idaho Fish and Game officers with us today, and that, of course, Kelton Hatch and Doug Meyer. In the first half hour, we devoted to hunting and poaching and basically shooting a dummy deer and people getting arrested, which they should be. Waterfowl hunters, be safe, cold water. What's going on here?
I'm sorry, Zeb. Can I ask for just a little bit of latitude? I wanted to ask one thing about. I wanted to mention one more thing on that ASA, on that simulated animal. Because Doug, during the break, I thought he said something that was really, really important. I mean, it does have management implications on our overall deer population when we have adults shooting does that are there for a youth opportunity, because it's increasing our harvest down there. So it could very well, we'd have to limit that area if stuff like this continues, and so that's why rules are in place. And I just hope people think twice before doing something like that, and are willing to turn their friends in.
What you're saying in a nutshell is a couple of bad apples in the barrel could spoil it for everybody. Yeah.
Basically 1 out of 3.
I agree.
When we look at that road.
Wow.
And that's really disheartening. But no, what I want to talk about this, the waterfowl hunters. Every year we have somebody tip a boat over. They don't know their weight limitations on their boats. They get too many people in there. Dog gets jumped around. I had a friend that's dog drowned one day when he was trying to teach it to ride in his canoe to duck hunt, because he left a leash on the dog. The water was moving. Had a long check cord on it. The dog fell in. The canoe tipped over. He about froze to death. The rope got tangled around a stump. The current of the water pulled the dog underneath because he couldn't swim upstream. And so the dog drowned and he about died. There's also some interesting, some different rules in the Burley-Rupert area on the river, and I wanted Doug to touch on those, on where it's legal and not legal to hunt waterfowl.
Before you get started on that, Doug, what about, are they not wearing the proper clothing? Are they not adhering to certain safety rules? What's the major reason for the concern here?
Well, it's just every year, we had some guys back trolling on the Snake River a couple of years ago. That means just they're moving upriver backwards.
Yeah.
And the stern of the boat caught some water, went underwater. They fell in the river and had to swim out.
Yeah.
Well, they're in the Snake River. They got to an island and about froze to death. The big thing is it's just being smart when you're in the boat and not trying to get your game animals at all costs. You have to be really smart. Water has a lot of power. A lot of people are very unknowing how much power water has, and if they don't if they're not smart, they can get into a lot of trouble quick. In the summer, if you swamp a boat, no big deal. I swim to shore, I get on the bank, and I dry off in the warm sun.
Yeah.
In the winter, I get wet.
You're in
I either
trouble.
get hypothermia, cramp up, and drowned in the river,
Yeah.
or I get to shore and freeze to death.
Yeah.
You know, and so you really have to double your being cautious when you're
Absolutely.
out there.
Doug, go ahead if you would, please.
Well, as Cotton alluded to, kind of in the Burley-Rupert area, there are several closures, one being the Minidoka National Wildlife Refuge. And last year I investigated a couple different cases, issued one person a citation for actually killing a goose inside the wildlife refuge.
Really?
So that's boundary is fairly well marked, and I think most people know where it is, but be cognizant of that. And then the other goose closure is from Milner Dam upstream to 650 East, which would be Frenchman's Island. And what the rules are there is you can't goose hunt within 200 yards of the river. So you can still duck hunt it, but you have to field hunt.
I see.
Off of
I
that.
see. What about this area right here, Murtaugh Lake, open for duck and goose?
It's open. The hard part
There's
right
a bunch
now,
over there.
It is. The hard part about that is that they've got the gate closed to the state. The park's on the end.
Yeah.
The only way you can get in there is through private property. So you better get permission, because that's one of the problems. There's another major issue. I mean, the water's really low out there. I've actually had some people that had walked in last year on the ice. Their dog went out to retrieve a duck. The ice broke. Dog drowned.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't thick enough.
Yeah.
You can't get out and get your dog. So
there are pockets, and I want to stress the fact that everybody thinks Murtaugh Lake drains, but there are pockets of water that still remain out there relatively deep.
There are, but there's also some springs out there that keep the ice very soft, and we're just not in a good ice area.
Let me ask you, though, why, I'm sure there's a reason, why did they close those gates so early during hunting season so that the goose and duck hunters can't have access and you don't have these problems?
I have no idea. That's a good question. I don't even know who actually manages those parks.
I see.
And so it's not the department, and I haven't. This is probably something
There's
I need
really
to check
nothing
into.
they can do to harm anything out there, I wouldn't imagine. It just gives them an access point to drive to.
They usually try to keep people checking in on those all the time during
Do
the
they?
summer because, those restrooms get thoroughly abused in the summer.
Well, that's
so.
true, too. Christmas presents and non-resident tag sales begin December 1st. That's a great Christmas giving idea.
It is. What would be your favorite Christmas present, Doug? For fishing game.
You got to answer on the
for fishing
microphone.
game. I was
Yeah.
going to go Packer memorabilia or something like that.
Oh, I like this guy. I like this guy. Yeah, you can look around here. You can find a lot.
I'm in the room with a bunch of
5 and
cheeseheads.
5 right now, my friend.
I'm looking at it like I've got a really high IQ right now.
Yeah, can you play quarterback, Doug? They need one.
I don't know about that.
But as far as the fishing game's concerned, what would be an ideal gift?
Well, I just know this is because my father's an out-of-state resident, of course.
Yeah.
Non-resident elk tags and hunting licenses are pretty expensive, so I usually try to every year I at least buy his hunting license for him for Christmas.
He comes out here from Wisconsin.
He does. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Introduce him to me sometime.
I'll have to do that.
How old is your dad?
I think he's 56.
Oh, he's a young man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can say that. Yeah, he's a young man.
No, I think it's great. My favorite one was I got my mother used to give me a sportsman's package.
You
every
told me
year.
this a long time ago when you lived over by Bear River, right?
Well, in Chesterfield.
Chesterfield, yeah, that's right.
And so I'd get a sportsman's pack. But no, that's one of the things. Our stocking stuffers for all my kids every year is a hunting license. So you can get either a gift certificate or for somebody that you can get a $100 gift certificate if you want, or $50 to buy their hunting license.
So you can do all the
their
application
tags.
for somebody else?
Well, that's if they're not a kid or a spouse, you need to get them a gift certificate. Like I couldn't buy you a hunting license, but Doug could buy you
buy me a Christmas card.
Doug could buy you a gift certificate for your hunting license.
Would you?
Those are things. And then non-resident tag sales, like Doug said, he tries to get his dad one, but that way you're guaranteed to have a tag beginning December 1. We actually saw a nice uptick on non-resident sales this year. Economy's starting to come around. Deer numbers are looking good, and we're starting to sell those tags out a little bit faster. So get out there and get those presents. I really feel horrible when I start talking about Christmas before Thanksgiving.
You know, somebody else said that yesterday to me after the show. I was visiting with some people, and they said, you know, it's really kind of sad that we omit and skip over Thanksgiving.
Well, Doug was just saying that, you know, it's kind of like the stepchild that Thanksgiving, but I don't get to talk to you until almost Christmas, so that's why he says I'm going to just bite the bullet and start talking about Christmas.
Now, one thing, what do they have to do? Do they have to go online? Can they go online, or do they have to go to the office, or what do they have to do?
You need to go to the office. You can go online and buy your immediate families, but stop by the office if you want to get a gift certificate, and that gift certificate's only good for that office. So, I mean, you can go to any of the other sporting goods stores in town and buy gift certificates and write on it, this is for your hunting license if you want also. But, I mean, it's just one of those good little stocking stuffers. And the other thing that Doug probably runs into every once in a while, do you ever run into people that forget to buy their hunting license on New Year's Day?
Yeah, once in a while, usually goose hunters or something, you know, they kind of forget that it changes at the first of the year. So.
And then you, of course, fine them severely, and they're bankrupt for the rest of the year.
No, I don't usually give those guys too hard of a time. Especially most people that are out in that freezing cold weather are pretty serious about it, so they're not their first day on the block.
I had a person call after last month when you were on the air and
said what a great guy I was.
That's not part of the conversation. But they did ask, where in the world is the Fish and Game office? I think a lot of people don't realize where you built your new office.
We try to hide it.
No, you didn't. Give people a general direction and the easiest way to find it.
2 miles north of the Flying J, off of Highway 93, right there at the Pine Bridge turnoff. You just, instead of going towards 20, you go towards Sun Valley 2 miles. If you cross the road tracks, you've gone too far.
But there's a lot of other businesses in that area, and
it's a 93 business park, and we're the furthest building to the east in there. It's the big building at the end of the road.
Okay. 75 years of Fish and Game here in the state of Idaho, and you've been with them for what, 74 of those years?
83. No. The department's actually been, officers have been around for about 100 years.
Really?
They've put the first conservation officers into effect. When they first got Citizens Committee or commissioners was 75 years ago. You need to go to the website. It is really, really cool. You didn't even get a kick out of this, Zeb. You could probably see some pictures of yourself.
There you go.
Because we've got these old videos.
I knew you'd throw that in.
These historical videos on there of...
Did you say historical or hysterical?
Both.
Okay.
Of wildlife management, and really, they're really cool. We showed a few of them at the commission meeting.
75 years.
75 years.
Wow.
And so shows releases and elk trapping and sheep trappings and just these old documentary type videos, black and whites. It's pretty cool if you're bored one night and there's nothing on the boob tube. Sit down and learn a little more about the department.
When you mentioned it earlier this morning in the program, and I'll have both of you comment on this, Doug, you said, and rightfully so, that we're now seeing a population increase in the state of Idaho to well over 1.7 million, probably going to hit 2 million people in the state before too long. What do you anticipate, if you're looking back 75 years of Fish and Game involvement here in the state, what about the next 75 years? Is it going to be a lot tougher to manage?
Oh, yeah.
Our big game and everything?
I mean, I guess I just look at us as... I went to school down at Utah State, and I look at the Wasatch Front down there when they were at 1 million people. Now they're at 2 million in the Wasatch Front. They have no deer other than just urban deer down right in that area.
Right.
They've gone from 150,000 deer hunters down to 60,000 deer hunters. Yeah, if we really don't watch what we're doing and how we manage wildlife, we could definitely be in a era that we're going to be losing hunters really fast, have less and less deer because of urban sprawl. And so the big thing is just conscientious planning and being smart where we build our houses. People have got to have a place for a house, but we've also got to be smart on our recreation plans. We've got to be smart on our housing plans in order to ensure the future of wildlife.
I want to say something, though, in opposition to the state of Idaho, would be in a direct contrast, would be the state of Wisconsin, where you're from and where I'm from. And football, like the Green Bay Packers, and hunting back in Wisconsin, those are two things that are synonymous with the state of Wisconsin. Deer hunting and deer in general, the populations have just absolutely blown sky high, haven't they?
They have, especially about 5 years ago or so.
Yeah,
All-time high, I think.
You have whitetail.
Yeah. Are there any methods or measures back there for hunting different and longer seasons, more take? I mean, they've got a population control problem back there, don't they?
No, they don't. They actually have shorter seasons. There's just a lot more people, and there's not as many broken down units as we have here. It's more of a statewide thing. But one biggest difference about there and here, and I think is an issue for Idaho Fish and Game moving forward with more population is funding. We're always kind of pushed to provide more and more, but at some point there may be a limiting factor, and the department has been trying to address that for several years.
Absolutely. Now, when you go further east, though, gentlemen, both of you respond to this. When you get back into the eastern seaboard states, of whether it's Connecticut, New Jersey, Massachusetts, New York, upstate New York, they're overrun with deer. I mean, they've got a real population crisis back there. What are they doing in states like that other than enhancing the hunting season? What are they doing to curb the problem?
It's kind of an interesting dynamic. What's going on right now is we're getting all these people, these foodies, these urban people, they're trying to raise their own food.
Yeah.
We're actually seeing a major increase in metropolitan areas of people starting to try to harvest their own food.
Really?
Because they're looking for that organic or that different flavor or something like that. So, but they do have control actions back there where they have people go into city parks and they have hired guns basically that will put corn piles in a city park, and at night go in and remove 50 to 100 deer out of different city parts. And so they do have issues like that. But I was going to say where Doug is from Wisconsin, they have 1 million hunters.
Yeah.
1 million hunters go out opening day.
Yeah.
There's also areas where back there you cannot shoot from the ground. It is illegal to discharge a firearm from the ground. You have to be in a tree stand so that your bullet goes into the dirt. It's a whole different change of hunting. You're hunting small acreages typically. You're setting in a tree, so when you shoot a shotgun, they're non-rifle, short-range units. There is some up in your other areas. I've understood that they do have rifle hunts and stuff in the lower populated areas. But
well, I can say from my own occurrence back there that we used to go up to Rhinelander, Wisconsin, and go to the deer hunt there every year, and it was all on my uncle's farm, and there weren't any tree stands or any demand for that at that time, but boy, things have changed back there in the last 30, 40 years.
Is that long you've been out of there?
I've been here 43 years. Thank you for asking.
You must... In your mid-30s, 40s when you moved here?
No, early 20s. Thank you very much for asking. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for a weather update with Michael Rogers, weatherupdate.com, and it's brought to you this hour by Lennox Home Comfort Systems. Of course, gas furnaces, heat pumps, etc., all through our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Ave. And in Burley, here is Michael Rogers Weather.
Hi, everybody. Michael Rogers for MichaelRogersWeather.com. The rain that you're having now is going to continue throughout much of the day and much of this evening. 52 for the high, 25 for the overnight low. So for tomorrow, sun and clouds, 36 for the high, 21 for the overnight low. No need to thank me. That's what I'm here for. Enjoy the day, enjoy the weather, the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. Brought to you by Lennox Home Comfort Systems through our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. We've got about 10 minutes left here on the program this morning, and boy, I still go back to that poaching and the vehicle shot. And
one thing I'd like to touch on,
yeah, go ahead.
If you'd allow me,
yeah,
is we have extended. There's a unit. We've got the. I brought a copy of this just to look at. I can't leave it because Jerome told me I couldn't. But no, it's the Idaho Elk Management Plan.
Right.
And that's going to. We're working on that right now. That's going to be good for 2014 to 2024. A 10-year plan basically is what we're working on. Hopefully, the January 1st, we're going to be able to fix that. But part of that is, and I just want people to think about this. We just extended. Or expanded and extended our Unit 56 elk tag. We've had some depredation problems, and so that hunt usually ends on November 30th. It's going now to December 30th, December 31st. It's moved the boundary clear up to the Sublet Road. And as we see these expanding elk herds, I mean, there's a lot of concern in a lot of different directions. Our main reasons for Well, for the amount of population of elk we can have as predators, the habitat we have, and social pressures. And a lot of these southern ones are social pressures where they're starting to get into agricultural lands and things like that. I guess what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get people to go online, look at this elk plan, and comment on it. If you've got some ideas on how we can work through these different issues, we talk about wolves quite a bit on here. There's only X amount what we can do to manage wolves.
Absolutely.
The sportsmen, if we're going to remove wolves from the backcountry, it's going to be on the backs of sportsmen going in there and hunting and stuff like that. We have sent some trappers in there, and we do pay for some trappers, but it's really cost prohibitive to do that.
What was the hunting season and the numbers that were given for this year? What was it? The maximum that you could take was what, 300 wolves? Was that the max?
Oh, no. We have an unlimited. We just got to maintain 15 breeding.
But there were only 125 taken, is that right?
Yeah, and usually we're around.
What does that tell you? What's the significance of that?
Well, the wolves are getting smarter. I mean, I had a friend that was up in Unit 27, not too far from the Diamondy Ranch over Sunbeam, up in that country, north of Stanley, and they'd spotted some wolves. They'd heard them howling that morning. They'd shot a deer. And they heard them howling, so they went up on the ridge and started calling. Well, the wolves heard. They came to a ridge. They parked it about 1,000 yards away. They're getting smarter. They're not coming into voice calls. They're not coming into the mechanical calls like they used to. They parked it on a ridge and just laid down and started sunning themselves. Well, they had a younger guy there with him. He was in his early 30s, and he took off on a dead run trying to get over to him, before they took off. And he's working his way about 200 yards, 300 yards away from him behind this ridge. And about 50, 60 yards to go, they said, and all of a sudden a small plane was coming into land at the Loon Creek landing strip. Well, those wolves were like they were shot out of a cannon.
Really?
Because our control methods are typically winged when we're removing wolves, and those wolves, they just boogered right out of there. They're not stupid. They're like your dog. I mean, your dog, they learn, they train us all the time. They sit out in their kennel and they bark. What do? We go open them up and let them out. They come with a scratch on the door, we open the door. They're a dog. They'll train us, and they learn really quick.
One thing, Doug, you can jump in on this, is that Idaho and Wisconsin and Minnesota, both those states have had severe problems with wolves in the last 10 years. The numbers in Minnesota are absolutely atrocious up by the northern part of Minnesota going into the northern part of Wisconsin. What are they doing back there to curb the numbers? Anything differently?
It's actually kind of eerily similar to us. They don't do as much aerial removal as far as from a department standpoint, but they're a little more successful with their hunters and trappers just because of access, like Kelton mentioned.
That makes a good point right there.
Because it's flat, the landowners are obviously ready to let you go in there, so it's a little easier. But I think Wisconsin this year, they had a similar number to us. I think 200, 250, something like that.
But they are being overrun. In some places in northern Minnesota, we've talked to a lot of farmers in that northern part, almost to the Canadian border, and they're about ready to throw their hands up. I mean, they're actually coming into their barns at night. I mean, it's a real severe problem back there.
Yeah. Well, one thing you got to remember with any canine, or any predator, any animal, survival rates depend on habitat and what's out there for them. Like if you want to increase a coyote population, you shoot them. That sounds weird. But what it does in a typical population of coyotes where you hit a maximum carrying capacity for that area, like every inch of it, once you get over that, you start getting mange and coyotes start dying. Average 1 to 0 pups survive each year from a litter. However, when we go in and air gun a group of coyotes out of an area because of sheep from lambing or calving and things like that, what happens is that leaves a big vacancy. Now the females that have pups on the edge of that move into that, and instead of having 0 to 1 pups survive, there's no other coyotes to compete against, so they have 6 pups survive. And so we also...
The population goes up.
The population goes up, and so we see that with the wolves. We have to manage them, but we got a 4.6 million acre wilderness area with no roads in it.
It's a little tough.
It's a little tough.
Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and service is the key word. They've got all your winter traction tires, all the different tread designs, all that are pinned for studs, everything ready to get you through all the snow, the ice, and the muck of winter here in Idaho, along with all the snow wheels. And, of course, don't forget they've got all your tire chains, the best in batteries, and, of course, always the best brake value, along with front-end alignments and shocks and struts. Everything available to you and your vehicles, be it a car, pickup, SUV, with our 7 great locations: Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, Twist Family and Paul, John on Poline and Twin, and Randy on Overland and Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Holy cow, we're out of time. What does that mean? It's been a good hour.
I've been too chatty. I need to let Doug talk more.
Very important and good issues to talk about this morning. Doug, you did a good job. Now, did you ride in the same vehicle as Kelton, or did you drive, or who drove?
We drove separate just because I was coming from Burley.
You're a smart man. I mean, well, that's nice.
I'm coming from Kimberly. He's coming from Burley.
Okay. So you're housed over in the Burley area primarily?
I am.
Okay.
Yep, I live just west of Burley.
West of Burley, okay. Anything earth-shattering that we should be looking forward to next month? Are you going to tell me that McGargle's waiting for ice to go ice fishing?
He is. He is. He's actually up north hunting whitetail right now.
Is he really?
He is. He's up in the Clearwater somewhere chasing a whitetail around. I said, good on you. Get out there. And I said he'll probably go out there and try to catch a walleye or something. But
we got a long way to go before there's any ice fishing.
Oh, yeah. A long ways to go. It's lovely to see this moisture. I'm really, there's some real concern out there this year on overall deer health and stuff like that. Deer seem pretty thin this fall, and so it's really nice that we're having this slow winter coming on to us. It'd be nice if we can get this precip. We've had some good green up earlier in the year, and so hopefully we start seeing a little more fat on the backs of those deer before we get into the harsh winter, but you just can't complain about water after as dry as the summer as we had.
Amen. Kelton Hatch, Doug Meyer, Idaho Fish and Game, and this pains me to say it, but 2 very nice people, and enjoyed having you on the program.
It's getting close to Thanksgiving.
I know
you're wanting a card or a pie.
Pie would be nice. Pie would be nice.